Has anyone ever noticed how some people seem to have almost supernatural power over the things going on around them? They don't scream or beg, they just move away, and all of a sudden, things change. The power changes. People begin to think, search, and feel. Now, picture what would happen if you stopped responding right away to everything and instead chose silence or retreat instead of exploding. What do you think will happen? That's the important thing. The world around you goes into crisis when you stop being emotionally, physically, and mentally ready all the time. People know how to control you because of how you respond, what you do, and how predictable you are. The game changes, though, the day you decide to pull out. Some people who thought they knew you now understand they don't at all. As Marco Aurelius once said, everything that annoys us about other people can help us understand ourselves better. Think about this. Who really becomes desperate when you become impossible to reach? Who gets angry and tries to irritate you just to feel something again? It tells us more about them than it does about you. Plus, it shows how much you're still being influenced without even knowing it. You keep giving people what they want because you want to keep the peace and not lose people who, deep down, were never really with you in the first place. And every time you say yes without thinking, every time you react emotionally, every time you say yes, you give away some of your energy. What's left at the end of the day? Being tired, angry, and feeling empty in a way you can't explain. That's because you're too open for people who don't deserve even a minute of your time. You shouldn't turn your back on the world after watching this video. It's about picking who you are. It's about learning what Jung called individuation, which means becoming whole, real, and finished. Understand that silence can be stronger than 1,000 reasons, and that pulling away, as long as it comes from awareness and not escape, is a powerful act. Now I'm going to look you straight in the eyes and ask you, how long will you let other people's feelings guide you? How long are you going to act like a doll every time someone pokes you? It might be time to cut those ties, to pull away, to disappear, because everything changes when you're not around. Your worth is based on how available you are to others, which is something you learned as a kid. You were taught to always be there, to respond quickly, to please, and to say yes even when you wanted to say no. But here's the truth, which maybe no one has told you so clearly. Being too available isn't a good thing, it's a jail. And as long as you think you have to be available, whether mentally or not, someone will utilize you, drain you, and then forget about you once they can no longer use you. Do you understand? Because being open all the time makes you easy to count on, and everything that can be predicted turns into a tool. People start to treat you like an emotional emergency button. They press it when they need help, attention, or approval, and then they put you back on the shelf. For some reason, you believe that being present for everyone else will make someone present for you, but you can't see it. That's not how it works. Marco Aurelius talked about the persona, which is the mask we put on to be liked, accepted, and known. In fact, this mask is what makes you too open. You say, "It's okay," even though you're dying inside. Even when you're tired, you answer texts right away. You protect yourself, explain yourself, and make excuses for yourself as if you owe everyone something. The truth is that you fade away from your own stage the more you put yourself in the spotlight of other people's. Being open all the time is a subtle way of giving up on yourself. It's a sneaky way to get approval, avoid rejection, and try to manage how other people see you. That power costs you your peace of mind. Your life force is being given away as if it were unlimited, but it's really very restricted. People who want you to be available all the time don't really want you. They want what you give them, like approval, company, a distraction, or mental support. But when you break your rules, change your mind, or refuse to react, those same people get mad and call you weird. It's not because you changed, but because they could no longer use you. What's cruelest is that people value you less when you're easy for them to get in touch with. This is because something that's too easy to get in touch with becomes an emotional rag. No one cares about things that they don't have to work for. Things that are always there are not valued. So take a moment to think about who really deserves your time, attention, presence, and silence. Or, even better, who deserves your time away? Before we answer that, we need to know something very important. Why do we respond so much? Why do we give up so quickly? Why do we feel the need to react, explain, and please so often? We'll talk about psychic energy next because that's what the answer is. Your energy is all you have, and someone will use it against you if you don't learn how to protect it. If you like what you're reading, click subscribe to join the channel. Thank you for your help. Marco Aurelius didn't think of the mind as a machine that could respond to things without thinking about the consequences. He says that our mind is like an energy system, and everything we think, feel, and do uses up some of that energy. The question is whether you direct your energy or allow the outside world to do it for you. You waste mental energy every time you act without thinking. When you fight back against criticism that doesn't deserve it, when you reply to provoked people just to prove you're right, or when you get into pointless arguments or try to please people who don't value you, you're using up your inner strength for things that don't feed you. That which you resist will stay with you, as Jung said. The more you respond, the more you are bound. Emotionally drained people aren't weak. They're just not focused on what they need to do. Also, do you know what happens to people who are always tired? They become easy to hurt. People are more likely to attack you when you're weak. People who are manipulative, careless, or mentally needy can feel it. They know you don't know how to protect your energy, you react to everything, and you're always trying to make things better, so they use that against you. Jung said that a mind that is healthy knows how to keep energy in the body. In other words, you can say no without feeling bad, stay quiet without feeling weak, and think before you move. You have real power when you choose when and how to act, and you can only do that if you know yourself well enough to understand your own urges. How many times have you lost sleep over a speech that wasn't finished? Did you think about what you should have said or why someone treated you badly for hours on end? Energy is being used up with no end in sight. You keep ghosts living that should have died a long time ago, and you feed dynamics that only exist because you keep responding. You can think of psychic energy as a force field. When you keep it safe, it gives you presence. When you walk into a room, people will respect you even if you don't say a word. But if you're not managed well, you become invisible, reactive, and weak, and the world doesn't care about people who give up quickly. First, pay attention to what sets you off. What makes you respond without thinking? How do you lose your center? Those are the exact places where your energy leaves you. You need to work on that, not to become cold or uncaring, but to be picky and in charge of yourself. One of Jung's most important ideas is that when you save your energy, you break the patterns that other people have made about you. People don't like that because it means we're entering dark territory, the world of quiet manipulation. You can find out how opportunistic people eat off of your energy and why they can't play those games when you're not around in the next section. Get ready to look into the eyes of the people who have been taking from you without you knowing it. You believe you are in charge. You think that your responses are choices you make on purpose, but the truth is worse than that. Most of your feelings are set. It's easy for people who know this to control you. People who want to take advantage of you don't have to yell, threaten, or force things to happen. They just need to push the buttons you've left open. Then you act. All the time. This is what Marco Aurelius called projection. The way that people put onto others what they can't face about themselves. There is, however, another side to this occurrence that isn't always seen. When other people project their pictures onto you, you become the container for those images. It seems like these images can happen on you more easily the more emotionally open you are. Someone you know will only call you when they need you. Your partner will always need you to save the day, and someone will only praise you when they need you. It's not a coincidence at all. It's not about you, it's about the idea of you and the part you agree to play. Why do you agree with me? Because you're scared, afraid of being let down, of not being loved, and of being left behind. Shouting doesn't work as well as the silence of shame when you feel like you owe someone something and need to be there for them, to help and to understand, even if it's breaking you down inside. The main point is that the charmer doesn't need to control you. All they need is for you to keep acting the same way. But the game is over when you stop responding. Their expectations start to fall apart when you say no, respond with quiet, or pull away instead of giving an explanation. They are scared because they no longer know who you are after the mask they put on you falls off. Even worse, they have to look at themselves, which some people are not ready for. People are afraid of you because you're not available, which makes them face their own nothingness. The quiet you offer shows them the noise inside they don't want to face. Then they hit you with criticism and drama, not because you are wrong, but because you stopped being a useful mirror. Jung said, "We don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light. We become enlightened by making the darkness conscious." The other person's shadow starts to show up when you pull away and feed the cycle. That's too much for people who have always used you as a way to escape. What about you? Are you ready to deal with the pain of being ignored, rejected, or even attacked because you are trying to protect yourself? Are you ready to deal with the silence that comes after the break? Just that quiet is where a new kind of power starts to grow. That's what we'll talk about next when we look at why silence can be the most powerful tool in the human mind and how it changes the way you interact with the world. The world we live in now is noisy. You can hear everyone, answer right away, win pointless arguments, and make a point, but sometimes it comes at the cost of your own peace. Only a few people know about and can use the power of silence, though, not the kind of silence that comes from being passive or afraid, but a deliberate, brutally clear-headed silence, the kind that isn't absence, but presence increased. Jung didn't see silence as emptiness. He saw it as a place where mental change could happen. When you stop responding, you start to notice things. When you notice things, you see patterns you hadn't seen before, like emotional repetition, manipulation games, and cycles of hurting yourself. Being quiet makes things clear, and people who want to control you should be careful with that clarity. Have you noticed how some people get upset when you don't answer, don't give an explanation, or just disappear? It's not that they miss you. Your quiet takes away their power over the story. You're still in the game as long as you talk. It changes the rules when you're quiet, though, so people who feed off of your reaction are thrown off. True quiet isn't not speaking. It's being in charge of your own energy. It means refusing to let someone else's feelings bring you down and choosing not to fight fights that aren't worth your time. Jung said that this kind of space is necessary for individuation, which is the process of becoming who you really are. This is because you can only listen to yourself without the outside world getting in the way. Don't be fooled, though. Being quiet costs something. It separates you from people who only saw you for the part you played. People who only saw you through their images won't be able to understand you. It makes you look detached, cold, and cocky. But these responses come from people who never wanted to see how deep you are. They only wanted to see how important you are. The hard truth is that as you get older, you become more picky about what you say because you know that each word you use costs energy, and not everyone should be able to hear your truth. Silence isn't always a way to hide. Sometimes it's a sign of power, the way someone talks when they don't have to prove anything to anyone. People don't like silence because it makes them face their own thoughts and inner chaos, which tells you more about them than any case you could make. There's no need to explain your disappearance. It's clear. People who feel threatened by your silence show how much they depended on your imbalance to stay in charge. But the most powerful silence isn't the one that makes other people uncomfortable. It's the one that heals you from the inside out and connects you to something more important than acceptance from other people. You start to regain your vital energy and connect with your essence in that inner place where you are not being pushed by other people. That's exactly what we'll talk about next, because blocking out outside noise isn't enough. You also need to learn how to use your energy again, choosing where it goes, where it stays, and most importantly, where it should never be lost. You need to learn how to pick and choose what you let into your soul. If you're trying to get your energy back and set limits, my book, Beyond the Shadow, will really help you. It breaks down Jung's most important ideas and gives you ways to keep your energy safe, set limits, and get in touch with your true self. The link is in the comment that became a pin. It doesn't help to know all of this on a theoretical level if you keep saying yes when you mean no, answering texts that bother you, having meaningless talks, and keeping up relationships that only exist because you have to. Being aware without doing anything is just another way of lying to yourself. When you make up your mind to be choosy, you start to truly change. And that takes controlling your emotions. Being conscious of not being available doesn't mean you are cold, cocky, or uncaring. It means not letting anyone get in touch with you at any time or for any reason. It's about being in charge of your own time, energy, and happiness. Small steps can help. Don't answer right away. Take a deep breath before responding. Leave a fight before it turns into a mess. Turn off your phone without feeling guilty and say, "Not today. I'm not interested," or "I won't get involved." The most important thing is that you don't have to explain your absence to anyone. You don't have to say why you're quiet. You only owe yourself something. Many people can't forgive this. When you refuse to explain, you make it impossible for someone to keep you stuck in an emotional story where you are always kind, understanding, and reachable. Marco Aurelius knew that every process of becoming an individual includes being alone. Not a sad aloneness, but a holy one. A time to be alone with yourself and learn to hear your own voice again, without the outside world getting in the way. This is how you rebuild your identity, not from the eyes of others, but from your own heart. Want a good way to measure how much you've changed? Keep an eye on who starts to move away when you become more quiet. Pay attention to who tries to upset you when you're not responding. Once you start to protect yourself, pay attention to who says you've changed. These aren't signs that you're doing something bad. They're signs that you're finally free. At first, it feels awkward to be unreachable. People will tell you that you're being too tough and make you feel bad. You've been taught your whole life to put other people before yourself, so this is part of unlearning. When you change, you and everyone who liked your old self will naturally feel bad. Self-determination is based on being aware of not being available. You say yes to yourself when you tell the world no. When you leave a bad situation, you show that your peace is more important than any fake link. Not having to explain yourself makes people respect you, even if it's just a few. Because your emotional absence shows how much they relied on your chaos to feel in charge. Not everyone is ready for this level of presence. It feels like you're losing something when, in reality, you're just setting yourself free at this moment. There is pain, loneliness, and separation. What will happen next, though? What comes next after the space? What comes from being quiet? In the last part, we'll talk about the rebirth that can only happen if you're brave enough to be alone, be ignored, and heal yourself on your own. Let's figure out why being alone is the way to true freedom for strong people. Something big happens when you stop being open to everyone. First, there is quiet, painful silence that makes you want to scream inside. You're not sure if you did the right thing, if you're being too mean, or if you're losing nice people. But that quiet changes over time. It starts to clean, calm, and heal. Then there is solitude, but not the solitude of not being there. The solitude of being there all the time, by yourself. The strong people who live alone. The silence of someone who doesn't lie to others to keep them around. And where there was confusion before, there is now certainty. There is peace where there used to be worry. When you no longer feel needy, you feel strong in a new way, the power of being whole inside yourself. Marco Aurelius said that individuation, or becoming who you really are, means separating from the group, taking off the mask, and going alone for a while. In fact, that's what you do when you decide to stop being open. You're not leaving the world to run away, you're coming back to yourself. At this point, you change from a reactor to a maker. You stop letting your circumstances shape your world and start shaping it from the inside out. People who are worried about you not being there show that they never wanted you. They wanted the part you played. These people don't know what to do now that you don't fit. That knowledge frees you up. People will leave you, but you'll find yourself. You'll leave some places and get back in touch with yourself. People will not understand you, but they will finally accept you. Because when you're not available for anything, you become important, rare, and easy to remember. Don't be fooled. This is a rebirth, a fresh start. The start of a life where anyone can't use you for mind games, emotional scraps, or voids that look like love. Now, you will only accept things that make you feel whole, at peace, and true. You are almost certainly ready for this new road if you have read this far. Some part of you knows that being loved doesn't mean anything if it means giving up on yourself to get it. And that real self-love starts when you choose to be alone for a while. We're about to explore 7 habits that completely transformed my life in just 1 week. Yes, you read that correctly. 1 week. I know it sounds almost unbelievable, but trust me, these aren't the typical tips you hear all the time. These are real, honest habits that I personally incorporated into my daily routine. I experienced the struggles, the breakthroughs, and the growth, and the change I underwent was nothing short of amazing. I'm excited to share these with you because they've made such a profound difference in my life, and I believe they can do the same for you. Whether you're aiming to boost your productivity, improve your mental health, or make a positive change in your daily life, these habits can help you get there. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Stick with me until the end, because these habits aren't just theoretical. They're practical steps that you can begin implementing today. I'll also share personal stories and insights from my own journey, giving you a candid look at how these habits worked for me. Let's get started. The first habit that truly changed my life was waking up early. Let's be real, I was never a morning person. My bed was my sanctuary, and I used to hit the snooze button far too many times. Mornings always felt rushed, and I often felt like I was starting my day off wrong. But I decided to try waking up early, and let me tell you, it was a game changer. I began setting my alarm for 5 a.m., and the first few days were tough. I dragged myself out of bed, feeling groggy and questioning whether this was worth it. But I pushed through, and by the third day, something incredible happened. I began to appreciate the peacefulness of the early morning hours. There was something almost magical about being up before the rest of the world, when everything was still and calm. With those extra hours in the morning, I had time for things I'd never been able to fit into my day before. I started with some light exercise, nothing intense, just stretching or a short jog around the neighborhood. This helped wake me up and energized me for the rest of the day. I also took time to meditate and set my intentions for the day. These few moments of mindfulness had a huge impact on my overall mindset and productivity. An unexpected benefit of waking up early was that I no longer felt rushed. I had plenty of time to enjoy a healthy breakfast, savor my coffee, and plan out my day. This calm, unrushed start set a positive tone for the entire day. I felt more organized, less stressed, and had a greater sense of control over my time. One memory that stands out was the morning I watched the sunrise from my balcony. It was such a simple moment, but deeply beautiful. As the sky changed colors and the world slowly came to life, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and peace. It was in that moment that I truly understood the power of waking up early. I encourage you to give it a try, even if it's just for a week. Start by waking up just 15 minutes earlier than usual and gradually increase that time. You might be surprised by how much of a positive impact it can have on your life. It's not just about gaining extra hours in the day, it's about using those hours to create a more mindful, intentional, and fulfilling start to your day. Speaking of daily habits, daily exercise was habit number 2 that truly transformed my life. Let me be upfront. I wasn't always the most active person. I used to find every excuse in the book to avoid working out. I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day, I decided that enough was enough. I made a commitment to move my body every single day for a week, and the results were incredible. I started small, just 20 minutes a day, mixing up yoga, jogging, and strength training. I wanted to keep things interesting so I wouldn't get bored and quit halfway through. The first few days were tough. My muscles were sore, and I felt exhausted, but I reminded myself why I was doing this, to feel better both physically and mentally. By the 4th day, something amazing happened. I woke up feeling more energized. My mood had improved drastically. I was less irritable and much more positive. I realized that those 20 minutes of exercise weren't just about burning calories or building muscle. They were about giving myself time to focus on me, to release stress, and to boost my endorphins. One morning, I remember lacing up my sneakers for a jog. It was a crisp, clear day, and as I ran, I felt a sense of freedom and clarity that I hadn't experienced in a long time. It was just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That connection to myself and the world around me was truly empowering. I also started to see physical changes. My posture improved, I felt stronger, and I noticed a difference in my overall fitness. But the biggest change was in my mindset. Exercise became my time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself. It became a form of self-care rather than a chore. Another personal highlight was trying yoga for the first time. At first, I was hesitant, thinking I wasn't flexible enough or that it wouldn't be a real workout. But after a few sessions, I fell in love with it. Yoga taught me to be present, to breathe deeply, and to listen to my body. It was a transformative experience that went beyond just physical benefits. Incorporating daily exercise into my routine made me realize that taking care of my body directly impacted my mental health and overall happiness. It's not about being perfect or pushing yourself to extremes. It's about finding a form of movement that you enjoy and making it a regular part of your life. So if you're like I was, struggling to get started, my advice is to begin small. Find something you enjoy, whether it's dancing, hiking, or just going for a brisk walk. Commit to just a few minutes a day and gradually build up from there. Trust me, the benefits you'll experience will be well worth the effort. Exercise is a habit that can transform not just your body, but your entire outlook on life. Habit number 3 is journaling. Now, I used to think journaling was just for people who had loads of free time or were naturally introspective. I was skeptical. I mean, who has time to sit down and write about their day when there's so much going on? But after just 1 week of consistent journaling, my perspective completely shifted, and it became a cornerstone of my personal growth journey. I started simple. Every night before bed, I dedicated just 10 minutes to journaling. I bought a plain notebook and a pen that felt comfortable in my hand. No fancy apps, no pressure to make it look pretty, just me and my thoughts. The first night I sat down to write, I didn't know where to begin. But as I kept writing, I found that I was not only reflecting on my day, but also gaining insights into myself, my thoughts, and my emotions. It became an important practice that helped me process my day, focus on gratitude, and set intentions for the future. The first night, I stared at the blank page, unsure of what to write. But then, I began with something basic: how my day went, what made me happy, and what I struggled with. As the days passed, I began to dive deeper. I wrote about my goals, my fears, my dreams, and even my insecurities. It felt like having a conversation with myself, and that's when the magic happened. I started to notice patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. I realized that some of the things I worried about were completely out of my control, while others were areas where I could take actionable steps. One night, I wrote about a particularly stressful day at work. By putting my thoughts on paper, I was able to process my emotions better. I wrote about what specifically stressed me out, how it made me feel, and what I could do differently next time. This simple act of reflection helped me gain clarity and feel more in control of my emotions. Another powerful aspect of journaling was tracking my progress. I noted down small victories and milestones, no matter how minor they seemed. Looking back at these entries filled me with a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep pushing forward. For example, I wrote about a presentation I was nervous about and how I prepared for it. Seeing my preparation process and the positive outcome documented in my journal was incredibly encouraging. I also started a gratitude section in my journal. Every day, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. This practice shifted my focus from what was lacking in my life to appreciating what I already had. It was a simple yet profound shift that brought more positivity into my daily life. One particularly memorable entry was about a random act of kindness I experienced. A stranger helped me when I was struggling with my grocery bags. Writing about this act of kindness not only made me feel grateful, but also inspired me to pay it forward. Through journaling, I discovered a lot about myself, my desires, my fears, my strengths, and my weaknesses. It became a form of therapy, a way to untangle the complex web of thoughts and emotions that we all carry around. It provided a safe space where I could be completely honest with myself without fear of judgment. If you've never tried journaling, I highly encourage you to start. Don't worry about writing perfectly or having profound thoughts. Just write whatever comes to mind. It could be a stream of consciousness, a recap of your day, or reflections on a specific event. Give yourself the freedom to express whatever you're feeling. You might be surprised at how much clarity and peace it brings into your life. Remember, it's not about what you write, it's about the process of writing itself. Next up, mindful eating. This was a big one for me because, like many people, I used to eat on the go, barely paying attention to what or how much I was consuming. My meals were often rushed and distracted, eaten while scrolling through my phone or working on my laptop. I didn't realize how much this was affecting my overall well-being until I decided to give mindful eating a try for 1 week. Mindful eating is all about paying full attention to the experience of eating and drinking, both inside and outside the body. It's about savoring each bite, noticing the flavors, textures, and even the sounds of your food. So, I made a commitment to eat all my meals mindfully. I started by setting the scene for my meals. I cleared my dining table, set a nice place for myself, and removed any distractions. No phone, no TV, no laptop. At first, it felt a bit strange to sit quietly with my meal, but it quickly became a calming ritual. I began each meal with a few deep breaths to center myself and bring my focus to the present moment. One of the first things I noticed was how much more I enjoyed my food. I took the time to really taste and appreciate each bite. Foods I had eaten hundreds of times before suddenly had new, delightful flavors and textures that I had never really noticed. For example, the crunch of fresh vegetables and the sweetness of ripe fruit became much more pronounced. It was like experiencing food in high definition. Another major change was how much more satisfied I felt after meals. By eating slowly and mindfully, I gave my body time to signal when it was full. This was a big shift for me, as I used to eat quickly and often ended up overeating. By paying attention to my hunger and fullness cues, I found that I naturally ate less and felt more satisfied. One memorable experience was with a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I would wolf it down without a second thought, but this time I took it slow, savoring the creamy texture and the subtle sweetness of the honey I drizzled on top. It became a moment of gratitude and mindfulness that set a positive tone for the rest of my day. I also started to notice how different foods made me feel. Heavier processed foods left me feeling sluggish and bloated, while fresh whole foods made me feel energized and light. This awareness led me to make healthier choices naturally, without feeling deprived or restricted. Another aspect of mindful eating is being aware of the emotional connections we have with food. I started to recognize when I was eating out of boredom, stress, or emotional comfort, rather than true hunger. This awareness was powerful. Instead of mindlessly snacking, I could address the underlying emotion. Maybe I needed a break, some relaxation, or a chat with a friend, rather than a bag of chips. There was one particular evening when I had a craving for something sweet after dinner. Instead of automatically reaching for dessert, I paused and asked myself if I was truly hungry or just seeking a reward after a long day. I realized I wasn't actually hungry and opted for a warm cup of herbal tea instead. It was a small victory that highlighted how powerful mindful eating can be. Incorporating mindful eating into my life was a transformative experience. It helped me develop a healthier relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even enhanced my overall sense of well-being. It's a habit I've continued beyond that initial week, and I can't recommend it enough. If you're interested in trying mindful eating, start with just one meal a day. Sit down without distractions, take a few deep breaths, and savor each bite. Pay attention to the flavors, textures, and how the food makes you feel. You might be surprised at how this simple practice can change your entire eating experience. It's a wonderful way to reconnect with your body and truly appreciate the nourishment that food provides. Now, habit 5, limiting screen time. This one was particularly challenging for me, and I suspect it might be for many of you as well. We live in a digital world, and it's so easy to get sucked into endless hours of scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or checking emails. I realized that all the screen time was taking a toll on my mental health, productivity, and even my sleep. So, I decided to set some boundaries and see what happened. First, I set a daily limit of 1 hour for non-work-related screen time. This meant no mindless scrolling through Instagram, no endless YouTube marathons, and no late-night TV binges. It was tough at first. I had become so accustomed to filling every spare moment with screens, but I knew I needed to make a change. The first thing I noticed was how much more time I had in my day. I hadn't realized how much of my time was being eaten up by screens until I consciously limited it. With those extra hours, I found myself rediscovering old hobbies and interests that I had neglected. I picked up a book I had been meaning to read, started doodling and drawing again, and even tried my hand at cooking new recipes. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, I decided to take a walk in the park. The fresh air, the sounds of nature, and the simple act of moving my body felt incredibly rejuvenating. It was a stark contrast to the usual screen-induced lethargy. That walk became a cherished part of my daily routine, something I looked forward to and enjoyed immensely. Another significant change was in my sleep quality. I used to take my phone to bed, scrolling through social media or watching videos until I felt sleepy. But this habit often left me feeling wired and restless, leading to poor sleep. By limiting screen time, especially before bed, I found it much easier to wind down and fall asleep. I started a bedtime routine that didn't involve screens, reading a physical book, meditating, or simply reflecting on my day. This change led to deeper, more restful sleep and made a huge difference in my overall energy levels. I also noticed improvements in my mental health. Without the constant barrage of news updates, social media comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt less anxious and more present. I was more focused during conversations, more attentive to the people around me, and more engaged in my daily activities. It was like a fog had lifted, allowing me to see and experience life more clearly. One particularly memorable day was when I spent an entire afternoon at a local cafe with just a notebook and a pen. I wrote down my thoughts, planned some goals, and even sketched a bit. It was such a peaceful and productive time, free from digital interruptions. I felt more connected to myself and my surroundings, in a way that screens had never allowed. Of course, there were moments of temptation and slips along the way, but each time I noticed myself reaching for my phone out of habit, I gently reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing and redirected my focus to something more fulfilling. Limiting screen time isn't about completely eliminating technology from your life. It's about creating a healthier balance and being more intentional with your time. If you're feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, I encourage you to try setting some screen time boundaries. Start small, maybe with an hour less each day, and gradually increase it. Use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, and the world around you. You might be surprised at how much richer and more fulfilling life can be when you step away from the screens and engage more with the real world. All right, everyone, that wraps up our journey through the 7 habits that dramatically changed my life in just 1 week. It's been an incredible experience, not just implementing these habits, but also sharing them with you. Each of these habits has the power to bring about significant positive changes, and I truly believe that if they worked for me, they can work for anyone. If any of these habits have inspired you, I encourage you to try them out for yourself. Start small, maybe with just 1 habit, and see how it feels. Adjust according to what suits your lifestyle and needs. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. It's progress. It's about making small, manageable changes that, over time, lead to substantial transformations. I'd love to hear about your experiences, so please drop a comment below sharing which habit you're thinking of adopting or any questions you might have about getting started. Your feedback and stories are what make this community so amazing and supportive. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. We have lots more insights and tips coming your way that you won't want to miss. Sharing this video with friends or family who might benefit from these habits could also make a huge difference in their lives. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, small changes lead to big results. Let's keep growing, keep evolving, and turn our everyday routines into powerful moments of self-improvement. All right, let's get real. Ever notice how some people just love to test your boundaries? They interrupt, make passive-aggressive comments, or act like your time and feelings are optional, and we're supposed to just smile and let it slide? Not today. If you're done putting up with people who don't respect you, this video is for you. Today, I'm breaking down brutally honest, maybe even a little controversial, ways to handle disrespect without losing your cool and without sacrificing your self-respect. So buckle up, because by the end of this, you'll have every tool you need to show people exactly where the line is drawn. Let's dive in. 1. Embrace the silent stare. Let's start with one of my all-time favorite slightly savage techniques, the silent stare. Now, you might be thinking, really? Just staring? Yes, trust me on this. When someone's being openly rude or disrespectful, nothing throws them off more than a long, calm, completely unbothered stare. People who disrespect others are usually looking for a reaction. They want you to stammer, get flustered, maybe even snap back. They're looking to drag you into their drama, to make you question yourself or feel small. But when you just look at them, no words, no expressions, just steady eye contact, suddenly the power dynamic flips. Now I get it. This might sound a little passive-aggressive, but hear me out. There's something deeply unsettling about someone who doesn't give the reaction they were expecting. When you hold a steady, silent stare, you're saying without a word, "I'm not playing this game with you." It's a way of reclaiming control without even lifting a finger, And sometimes that silent stare is the clearest, most powerful no you'll ever say. Let me tell you about a time this technique worked like magic. I was in a group meeting where one guy kept talking over me, cutting me off like he was on a mission. You know the type, loud, overconfident, thinking everyone's there to listen to his wisdom. I tried interjecting. I tried being polite, but he wouldn't stop. So finally, I just looked at him. I leaned back in my chair, crossed my arms, and held his gaze. No blinking, no expression, just stared. For 5 solid seconds, I said nothing. You could feel the tension build. And the best part? Everyone else at the table started looking at him too, wondering what he'd do. You know what happened? He got uncomfortable, stumbled over his words, and suddenly looked anywhere but at me. He didn't interrupt me for the rest of the meeting. That silent stare did more than any words could have. And it didn't just stop his behavior in the moment. He actually started treating me with more respect after that, as if he'd finally realized I wasn't someone he could just bulldoze. Sometimes you have to show people who you are without saying a word. Let's dig a little deeper because this is more than just a power move. When you embrace the silent stare, it's like a reminder, to them and to yourself, that you don't have to dance to someone else's tune. You don't owe anyone an emotional reaction, and you don't have to prove yourself to people who don't see your worth. This is about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your dignity. Too often, when someone is disrespectful, we feel an urge to defend ourselves, to make our case, or worse, to let it slide because we don't want to create a scene. But the silent stare, it's not about being aggressive. It's about showing that you're grounded, unbothered, and unapologetically in control of your own emotions. It's also about accountability. People who are used to disrespecting others often do it without even thinking. They've never been called out, never faced real consequences for treating others poorly. When you give them that silent, deadpan look, it's like you're holding up a mirror. Suddenly, they're left alone with their own behavior. You're not telling them they're wrong, you're showing them. And most people don't like to see themselves like that. That's why this works. I've noticed that the silent stare tactic does more than just get the other person to back off. It also strengthens your sense of self-worth. When you stand there silent and still, you're reminding yourself that their words or actions can't shake you. I used to be the type who'd nervously laugh off rude comments or try to explain myself when someone questioned my choices. But honestly, that just drained my energy and made me feel worse. Learning to just look at someone, to let that silence fill the room without backing down, was a game changer. It feels like a small act of defiance. A quiet but powerful declaration of self-respect. So if someone's being rude, pushing boundaries, or making you feel less than, try the silent stare. Just look at them. Let them feel the weight of your calm. You'll be surprised at how uncomfortable it makes them and how empowered it makes you feel. The silent stare says, I respect myself too much to get dragged into your negativity. And that's a message worth sending. 2. Embrace silence as your answer. Here's a little secret weapon that's incredibly underrated. Silence. When someone disrespects you, one of the most powerful responses is no response at all. Now I know what you're thinking. Silence feels passive, almost like you're letting them get away with it, right? But here's the truth. Silence is far from passive. It's a choice. And sometimes it's the boldest, loudest answer you can give. When someone's throwing negativity at you, they're trying to pull you into their drama, to make you feel small or defensive. But when you don't engage, when you just let their words hang in the air without responding, It forces them to sit alone with their own behavior. And that silence, it's deafening. Now here's why this works so well. People who disrespect others usually expect a reaction. They're looking for a fight, a justification, or just some kind of validation for their own behavior. But silence says, I'm not giving you my energy. By not engaging, you're keeping control of the conversation and letting them know, I'm not here to entertain your disrespect. Sometimes the most powerful way to communicate is by not communicating. It's a quiet, subtle reminder that they're not worth your time or your words. I remember once being in a situation with someone who just couldn't resist making these little digs. You know the kind of person, hides their insults as jokes and tries to pass it off as harmless fun. So one day, he says something completely unnecessary about my work, clearly just to get a rise out of me. Normally, I would have tried to explain myself, or maybe even fired back a comment. But this time, I just looked at him, raised an eyebrow, and said absolutely nothing. I let his words hang in the air, letting him feel that awkward, silent pause. And you know what? He didn't know what to do. He looked at me, then looked down, mumbled something, and moved on. That moment was the last time he tried pulling that with me. It was like he realized that if I wasn't reacting, there was no power to be gained. That's the beauty of silence. It starves disrespect of the attention it craves. Here's the deeper message. When you choose silence, you're choosing yourself. You're saying, I value my peace over your opinion of me. And that's not just empowering, it's revolutionary. So often, we feel pressured to respond, to explain ourselves, to defend our choices, or to prove our worth to people who frankly aren't interested in respecting us. But by embracing silence, you're refusing to play by their rules. You're taking a stand without lifting a finger. You're letting them know, you're not worth my words. It's not just about controlling the situation, it's about reclaiming your energy. Silence is like a filter. It keeps your peace intact by blocking out the negativity that others try to project onto you. The moment you stop feeling the need to respond to every rude comment or passive-aggressive jab, you free yourself. You stop giving people access to your inner world, and you start living on your own terms. I'll be real with you. Learning to use silence wasn't easy for me. I used to think that if I didn't defend myself, I'd look weak or passive. But I started noticing something interesting. Every time I responded to people who disrespected me, I'd end up drained and frustrated. But when I held my tongue and let their comments pass by like white noise, I realized I felt lighter, stronger, and more in control. It was like I took back a piece of my power every time I chose silence over reaction. Here's my challenge to you. The next time someone disrespects you, just pause, take a deep breath, look them in the eye, and say nothing. Let your silence speak for itself. You might be surprised by how uncomfortable they get and how freeing it feels for you. Embrace silence as your answer, because sometimes saying nothing is the most powerful statement of all. All right, this one's going to hit home for a lot of us. Stop explaining your choices. Seriously. How many times have you made a decision for yourself only for someone to immediately start asking, why? Why did you do that? Why didn't you go to that event? Why'd you take that job? People seem to think they're entitled to an explanation for everything we do. And here's the honest truth. They're not. Your choices are your own, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for how you live your life. It might sound controversial, but let's face it. If someone's questioning your choices, they're often not looking to understand. They're looking to judge. They're looking to poke holes, make you doubt yourself, or feel better about their own decisions by making you second-guess yours. You don't have to play along. When you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your autonomy and show them that your life isn't up for debate. Let's dig a bit deeper into why people feel so entitled to an explanation in the first place. When people question your choices, it's often because your decision challenges their view of the world. Maybe you're taking a risk they're too scared to take, or maybe you're stepping out of the norm they find so comforting. Your independence or willingness to do things differently can make them uncomfortable, and asking you to explain is their way of trying to fit you back into their comfort zone. But here's the kicker. Just because they're uncomfortable doesn't mean you're responsible for reassuring them. Your life isn't a public service announcement. You don't have to justify your choices to anyone. I remember when I decided to switch careers, moving from a safe job to something I was actually passionate about. But that came with a lot more risk. The moment people found out, it was like I'd announced I was moving to Mars. I kept getting asked, why would you leave a stable job? And how are you going to make it work? At first I'd try to explain, talk about how I wanted something more fulfilling, about how I had a plan. But I quickly realized that no matter what I said, it never felt like enough. The more I explained, the more people questioned me, poking holes and making me feel like I needed to prove myself. Then one day, I decided to try something new. When someone asked, "But why would you leave that job?" I simply replied, "Because I wanted to." No extra details, no breakdown of my strategy, just a simple answer. And let me tell you, it felt amazing. The silence that followed was everything. People didn't know how to respond because I'd taken away their power to question my choices. And you know what? They eventually stopped asking. Here's the real beauty of not explaining yourself. It's freeing. It's you standing in your own truth, knowing that your decisions are enough simply because you've made them. When you stop justifying your actions, you give yourself permission to live authentically, without the weight of other people's expectations. You stop wasting your energy on explanations, and you start pouring it into actually living the life you want. There's a powerful lesson here. Your life doesn't need an audience vote. Not every decision has to be analyzed or approved by others. When you stop explaining yourself, you're letting people know, I'm confident enough in my choices that I don't need your approval. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a truly confident person breaking down their decisions for others? Probably never. Because people who own their lives don't need external validation. They know that the only approval that matters is their own. Look, I've been there. I used to be the person who'd give a full PowerPoint presentation on why I was doing something just to get people on board. But over time, I realized that explaining myself to everyone was only making me second-guess my choices. So I made a pact with myself. If someone asks me about a decision, I'll answer briefly, maybe give a sentence or two. If they push for more, I smile and move on. And you know what? Life got a lot lighter. The more I stopped explaining, the more confident I became in my own decisions. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone questions your choices, resist the urge to explain. Just say, "Because I wanted to," or "That's what felt right for me." Then let the silence speak. Watch how powerful that simple statement is. You'll feel stronger, more in control, and more at peace with yourself. And the best part, you'll realize that your choices don't need anyone else's stamp of approval. They're valid simply because you made them. Keep your distance. Let's be real. Sometimes the best way to handle people who don't respect you is to just keep your distance. I know it sounds harsh, maybe even a little cold, but here's the hard truth. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life, and if someone's consistently disrespecting you, one of the healthiest moves you can make is to give yourself some space from them. This doesn't mean you hate them or that you're being dramatic. It means you respect yourself enough to protect your energy. Keeping your distance isn't about being mean or ignoring people. It's about choosing where and how you spend your time and energy. Imagine your life as a limited access club. Not everyone gets a VIP pass. If someone's constantly crossing your boundaries, making you feel small, or just radiating negativity, why on earth would you keep them close? It's okay to step back. In fact, it's crucial. Distance can give you the clarity to see things as they really are, free from the fog of emotional manipulation or guilt. Think about it. When you keep people who disrespect you close, it's like inviting them to a mental and emotional buffet where they take, criticize, and judge as much as they want. And then we wonder why we feel drained, anxious, or frustrated. Giving yourself space from these people is an act of self-preservation. It's about protecting your mental health, preserving your peace, and making room for people who actually respect and uplift you. Letting go of the guilt around distancing yourself can be liberating. You're not obligated to keep disrespectful people in your orbit. I'll share a little story. I once had a friend who would always find a way to make snide comments about every choice I made, my career, my relationships, even my taste in music. At first I thought, well, that's just how they are. Maybe I'm overreacting. So I kept them around, kept trying to brush it off, thinking it wasn't that big of a deal. But over time, those little jabs started getting under my skin. I realized I was walking on eggshells, always bracing myself for the next criticism or the next joke that felt more like a punch. One day, I decided to try a different approach. I didn't make a big announcement or call them out. I just started limiting my time with them. Instead of seeing them every week, I'd see them maybe once a month. And guess what? I felt lighter. I felt freer. And in that space, I realized just how toxic that friendship had become. Distancing myself gave me the mental clarity to see that I deserved better friends. Friends who would build me up instead of tearing me down. Here's the thing. Some people are going to tell you that keeping your distance is selfish. They'll say, but they're family, or you've been friends for years. It can feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little taboo, to admit that someone you know well just isn't good for you. Society tells us to be loyal, forgiving, and nice, but at what cost? Here's a little secret. Protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. You're not here to be anyone's emotional punching bag or their constant source of validation. Sometimes the best way to show someone you've had enough is by simply stepping back. Here's where it gets deep. Keeping your distance is a powerful reminder that you are your own priority. You don't have to play the role someone else has assigned to you. You don't owe anyone access to your mind, your time, or your emotions. When you put a little space between yourself and disrespectful people, you're making a statement. Your well-being comes first, and that's not just self-care, it's self-respect. Distance also gives you the chance to focus on the relationships that matter, the ones that genuinely uplift you. Think about it. The more time you spend around people who respect you, the more confident and fulfilled you feel. The less time you spend around those who tear you down, the less room they have to impact your thoughts, your mood, and your life. I used to feel so guilty about distancing myself from people, even if they weren't treating me well. I'd think, What if they think I don't care? Or maybe I'm overreacting? But over time, I learned that distancing myself wasn't just about removing negativity, it was about creating space for growth. When I started giving myself permission to distance from disrespectful people, I felt a new kind of freedom. I had more energy, more peace, and a clearer vision of who I wanted in my life. So, here's my challenge to you. Think about the people in your life who constantly disrespect you, who make you feel small or drained. Then ask yourself, do they really deserve this much access to me? Hold your head high. All right, let's talk about an old-school classic that never goes out of style. Holding your head high. Now, I know this might sound like generic advice, but trust me, this one is pure gold when dealing with people who don't respect you. Here's the thing. When someone is disrespectful, they're banking on making you feel small. They want you to doubt yourself, to lower your eyes, to shrink into yourself. But when you stand tall and hold your head high, you're saying, without a word, I know exactly who I am, and nothing you say or do will make me feel less. Here's what's powerful about this. Confidence makes people uncomfortable, especially people who disrespect others. Why? Because they rely on the idea that their words or actions have the power to influence you, to control you in some way. When you refuse to let their disrespect touch you, when you literally stand taller and hold your head up high, you're showing them that they don't have the power to bring you down. You're unbreakable, and people who thrive on disrespect don't know what to do with that. It throws them off balance. It makes them question their power, not yours. I remember being in a situation with someone who just couldn't resist throwing little insults my way every time we met. You know the type. Always a smirk, always a joke that feels more like an attack. I used to try and brush it off, but honestly, it got to me. I found myself starting to dread being around them, feeling like I had to defend myself every time. But then, one day, I decided I was done feeling small. I showed up, shoulders back, head high, and every time they made one of their little comments, I just looked them in the eye, smiled, and carried on like nothing had happened. And you know what happened? They actually started backing off. It's like they could sense that their comments weren't reaching me anymore, that I was too far above that nonsense. And suddenly, their power faded. There's something magnetic about holding your head high. It's like a silent force field that says, I'm untouchable. Now, here's where it gets a little spicy. People who don't respect you often hate seeing you confident. It messes with their worldview. They want to believe they're above you, that they've got something on you. And when you walk around confidently, it disrupts that narrative. To them, it's almost offensive. Society doesn't always know what to do with people who are unapologetically sure of themselves, especially when they refuse to let others' negativity define them. And let's be real, that can make you a bit of a target. But here's the thing. Holding your head high isn't about them. It's about you. It's about living as if you're fully aware of your worth, as if you've got nothing to prove. That can feel like a radical act of self-respect. When you hold your head high, you're making a statement about your self-worth. You're declaring that, no matter what, you see yourself as valuable, deserving of respect, and inherently enough. Here's the deeper message. Self-worth isn't something you earn from others. It's something you claim for yourself. No matter what others think or say, you walk through life as if you already have everything you need within you. And guess what? You do. Holding your head high is a constant reminder that you're the main character in your own story. No one else's opinion has the right to make you feel less. The beauty of it? The more you practice this, the less others' disrespect will even register. You'll be too busy living in your own lane, too too secure in who you are to be bothered by anyone else's attempts to knock you down. This didn't come naturally to me. I used to be the person who'd slouch, avoid eye contact, and shrink when people were critical or dismissive. It felt safer to disappear. But over time I noticed that every time I held my head high, every time I refused to let someone's negativity seep into my spirit, I felt stronger. It was like I was reminding myself over and over that I didn't need anyone's approval to feel worthy. I could simply stand tall in who I was. Holding your head high isn't just about physical posture, it's about mental posture too. Walk into every room like you belong there. Don't shrink yourself to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. If someone makes a snarky comment, let it roll off you. They're not seeing the real you, they're projecting their own insecurities. So why let it bother you? Here's my challenge to you. Next time you feel disrespected, whether it's a subtle dig or a full-on insult, don't react. Instead, take a deep breath, pull your shoulders back, and keep your head high. Look them straight in the eye, as if to say, I see you, but I'm above this. You'll feel a rush of confidence, a sense of peace that comes from knowing their words hold no power over you. Holding your head high is more than just good posture. It's a powerful, silent statement of your self-respect. It says, I know who I am, I value who I am, and nothing you say can change that. Because at the end of the day, respect starts with you. The more you respect yourself, the less room there is for anyone else's disrespect to stick. Stand tall, own your worth, and remember, you're worth every bit of that confidence. Life's too short to spend it bending over backwards for people who can't see your value. You don't need anyone's permission to stand tall, protect your peace, and live life on your terms. People will try to bring you down, test your boundaries, and question your choices. That's just the world we live in. But here's the thing. You get to decide what energy you let in. You set the standard for how you're treated. The best part? The more you focus on your self-respect, the more you'll attract people who see your worth, who uplift you instead of dragging you down. It all starts with you owning your power and letting the rest fall into place. So, hold your head high, embrace the silence when it serves you, and never apologize for walking away from what doesn't serve you. Thanks so much for watching. If you got something out of this, give it a thumbs up and maybe even hit subscribe for more content on owning your life and building the confidence to thrive. Share this with someone who needs a reminder to stand tall. And hey, drop a comment below if you've got a story about handling disrespect or setting boundaries. I'd love to hear it. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and remember, respect starts with you. Have you ever felt like someone's words or actions ruined your entire day? Maybe it was a rude comment, a thoughtless gesture, or even just an unexpected inconvenience. It's frustrating, isn't it? But here's the truth. No one has the power to control your emotions unless you let them. What if you could stay calm and unshaken no matter what life or anyone else throws your way? Imagine walking through your day with a sense of peace so strong that even the most irritating situations couldn't rattle you. That's not just wishful thinking, it's emotional mastery. In this episode, we're diving into 10 transformative lessons that will help you stop reacting impulsively, let go of anger, and regain control over your emotions. These lessons aren't about ignoring your feelings or pretending not to care. They're about building the mental strength to navigate life's challenges with grace and clarity. Whether it's dealing with criticism, setting boundaries, or learning to let go of grudges, you'll discover practical tools to protect your peace and live with confidence. By the end of this episode, you'll have the mindset and strategies you need to stay unbothered, even in the most difficult situations. So, if you're ready to unlock the secret to emotional freedom and live a life where no one else can control your mood, let's get started. Your journey to mastering your emotions begins now. 1. Understand that your reactions are your choice. Picture this. You're in the middle of a peaceful day, maybe sipping coffee or walking through the park, when suddenly someone says something rude or inconsiderate. Your calm vanishes, replaced by anger or frustration. You think, why did they ruin my day? But here's the truth. They didn't. You did. Your emotions are your responsibility, not theirs. No one has the power to control how you feel unless you hand that power to them. Think of it this way. The world can throw challenges at you, but only you decide how to react. Let me offer a fresh perspective. Imagine you're wearing noise-cancelling headphones in a busy city. The chaos of honking cars and loud conversations doesn't disappear. It's still there. But it doesn't reach you. Mastering your reactions works the same way. You don't have to let the noise of other people's behavior invade your peace. A wise thought captures this beautifully. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. When someone cuts you off in traffic or criticizes your work unfairly, it's easy to blame them for your anger. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused? In that pause, you find power. The power to choose calm over chaos, strength over impulsiveness. Here's a real-world example. Imagine your coworker dismisses your idea during a meeting. Instead of snapping back or stewing in resentment all day, take a moment to breathe and reflect. Is this about me, or is it their own stress or bias showing? By reframing the situation, you neutralize its impact on your emotions. The beauty of this approach is that it's not about suppressing how you feel, it's about recognizing that your feelings are separate from your reactions. Anger, frustration, and disappointment are natural, but they don't have to dictate what you do next. Here's a simple strategy to start practicing this mindset. Pause and identify when you feel triggered. Pause and name the emotion you're experiencing. Anger, hurt, irritation. This breaks the automatic reaction cycle. Ask questions. Reflect on why you're feeling this way. Is it because of what happened or your interpretation of it? Choose your response. Decide how you want to act based on your values and long-term peace, not the heat of the moment. Imagine the freedom of walking through life unbothered by others' actions, the rude stranger, the thoughtless remark, the minor inconvenience. All of them lose their grip on you when you take control of your reactions. In every moment, you have a choice. You can let others dictate your emotions, or you can reclaim your power and protect your peace. The next time someone tries to push your buttons, remember, their behavior doesn't define you. Your reaction does, and in choosing calm, you gain not just emotional mastery, but true freedom. 2. Stop expecting people to behave like you. Have you ever been disappointed by someone who, when you find yourself in need, is nowhere to be found? Disappointment washes over you, and you think, how could they be so inconsiderate? I would never treat them this way. Here's the hard truth. People don't operate by your standards or values. They act based on their own. Expecting others to think, behave, or respond the way you would is like trying to control the weather. It's impossible and only leads to frustration. Think of it this way. Each person is walking their own path, shaped by their experiences, beliefs, and priorities. When someone does something that annoys or hurts you, it's often not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. Trying to change or control their behavior only leaves you feeling powerless. Instead of focusing on how others should act, focus on accepting them as they are. Let me give you an example. Imagine a coworker who constantly interrupts during meetings. Instead of seething with frustration or trying to teach them a lesson, recognize that their habit has nothing to do with you. By letting go of the expectation that they'll change, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional turmoil. A wise thought sums this up perfectly. Expectations are the root of all suffering. The less you expect others to behave in a certain way, the more you protect your peace. Here's a practical exercise to help you let go of these expectations. Acknowledge your assumptions. When someone upsets you, ask yourself, what was I expecting them to do? Challenge that expectation. Reflect on whether it's realistic to expect someone else to act exactly as you would. Shift your focus. Instead of trying to control their behavior, focus on how you can respond calmly and maintain your peace. Think about how liberating this mindset is. The rude stranger, the forgetful friend, the inconsiderate co-worker, none of them have the power to disrupt your emotions unless you let them. When you stop expecting others to meet your standards, you take back control of your reactions. In the end, people are who they are, not who you want them to be. Accepting this truth doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior or abandoning your values. It means recognizing that your peace is too valuable to sacrifice for something you can't control. The next time someone disappoints or frustrates you, pause and remind yourself they're acting from their nature, not mine. And that's okay, because I choose my response. By releasing those expectations, you gain freedom, not just from others' actions, but from the emotional weight they once carried. Think about the last time you got into an argument. Maybe it was over something trivial, like which route was faster, or something deeper, like a disagreement with a close friend or partner. As the conversation heated up, did you feel that strong urge to prove your point, to show them you were right? We've all been there, clinging to our version of the truth like it's a lifeline. But here's the thing, that need to always be right is exhausting and unnecessary. The need to win every argument or prove your perspective often stems from insecurity. It's as if being wrong threatens our worth or identity. But what if you could let go of that need entirely? What if you could approach disagreements with curiosity instead of defensiveness? A powerful thought to keep in mind is this: would you rather be right, or would you rather be at peace? Often, our insistence on being right creates tension, damages relationships, and fuels our frustration. On the other hand, letting go of the need to prove yourself allows you to preserve your peace and approach conflicts with understanding. Imagine someone accuses you of something unfair. Your instinct might be to defend yourself, to argue your case, or to point out their flaws in return. But what if you paused and asked yourself, is it worth my energy to prove them wrong? Will this argument change anything important in my life? In most cases, the answer is no. Here's an example. A friend might insist that their way of handling a problem is better than yours. Instead of diving into a debate, you could say, I see where you're coming from, and I respect your perspective. By doing this, you not only diffuse the tension, but also maintain your calm and avoid unnecessary conflict. The Taoist philosopher Lao offers timeless wisdom. He who is attached to his views will never grow. Letting go of the need to be right doesn't mean abandoning your principles or silencing your voice. It means recognizing that not every disagreement needs a resolution in your favor. It's about choosing when to engage and when to step back. Pause before responding. When you feel the urge to argue, take a deep breath and reflect on whether it's worth your energy. Seek understanding. Instead of trying to win, ask questions to understand the other person's perspective. This approach often de-escalates conflict. Pick your battles. Save your energy for disagreements that truly matter, ones that align with your values or affect significant outcomes. Over time, you'll find that letting go of the need to always be right brings immense freedom. You'll start noticing how much lighter and calmer you feel when you stop trying to control every conversation or prove every point. Arguments lose their grip on your emotions because you've chosen peace over pride. Remember, your value isn't tied to winning debates or proving your intelligence. It's in how you carry yourself, how you protect your energy, and how you maintain your inner peace. The next time you're tempted to argue, pause and remind yourself, being right won't make me happy, but being calm will. And in that moment, you'll experience the true power of letting go. Imagine this. You're excitedly sharing an idea, something you're truly passionate about, and someone interrupts with a dismissive comment. Their words cut deep, and suddenly, the confidence you felt disappears. Why does this happen? It's because we often let others' words define how we see ourselves. Here's the truth. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's opinion. It's not tied to their compliments, criticisms, or judgments. When you rely on others to validate you, you hand them the power to control your emotions. True emotional freedom comes when you take that power back. Let's consider an example. A colleague criticizes your work, not constructively, but in a way that feels harsh or personal. Your instinct might be to defend yourself or feel disheartened. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused and reminded yourself, their words reflect their perspective, not my value. By detaching your worth from their opinion, you protect your peace and maintain your focus. Marcus Aurelius captured this wisdom perfectly. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own. This isn't about ignoring feedback or dismissing others entirely. It's about filtering what truly matters. Constructive criticism can help you grow, but unwarranted negativity doesn't deserve space in your mind. Pause before reacting. When someone's words sting, take a moment to breathe. This pause gives you the chance to choose your response instead of reacting impulsively. Separate fact from opinion. Ask yourself, is there truth in what they're saying, or is it just their perspective? Focus on what helps you grow and let the rest go. Reaffirm your worth. Remind yourself that your value isn't tied to anyone else's approval. Your worth is intrinsic, independent of external validation. Lao offers another layer of wisdom. Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. Letting go of the need for validation doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop caring about opinions that don't serve your growth. By doing so, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional weight. The next time someone's words challenge your confidence, pause and ask yourself, am I letting this define me, or can I choose to focus on what I know to be true about myself? In that moment, you reclaim your power and remind yourself that no one's words can diminish your value unless you let them. True strength lies not in avoiding criticism, but in knowing your worth regardless of it. When you stop letting others' words define you, you create space for authenticity, confidence, and peace. And that's a life no one can take from you. 5. Protect your energy by setting boundaries. Picture this. A friend calls you in the middle of your busy day, asking for help with something they could probably handle on their own. Or perhaps a co-worker dumps a last-minute task on you, assuming you'll say yes. You feel the weight of obligation, but also the frustration of knowing this will disrupt your plans. Why is it so hard to say no? Here's the truth. Protecting your peace requires setting boundaries. And boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. Without them, you let others dictate your time, energy, and emotional well-being. Saying yes to everyone else often means saying no to yourself. A powerful reminder comes to mind. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving without protecting your energy, you'll find yourself burned out, resentful, and disconnected from your own needs. Boundaries are how you safeguard your emotional freedom while maintaining healthy relationships. Think about this. When someone oversteps your boundaries, it's not their fault. It's yours for not clearly defining and upholding them. People aren't mind readers, and unless you communicate what you're okay with, they'll continue to push, often unintentionally. Setting boundaries is a form of self-respect, and it also teaches others to respect you. Here's an example. Imagine you're always the person friends come to for advice, even late at night. You want to be supportive, but it's draining your energy. Instead of silently resenting them, you could say something like, "I care about you, but I need to keep evenings for myself to recharge. Let's talk tomorrow instead." This approach is firm yet kind, and it protects your peace without damaging the relationship. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the ability to live as we wish. Living freely doesn't mean ignoring others' needs. It means deciding where your energy is best spent. Boundaries let you choose your priorities and ensure you're not giving more than you can handle. Here's how to start setting boundaries effectively. Be clear and honest. Communicate your limits calmly and directly. People are more likely to respect boundaries when they understand them. Use I statements. Focus on your needs rather than blaming others. For example, say, "I need some quiet time after work," instead of, "You're always bothering me." Stick to your boundaries. Once you set a limit, uphold it. Consistency shows others that you're serious about protecting your space. Lao offers another perspective. He who knows when to stop does not find himself in trouble. This wisdom reminds us that knowing your limits and respecting them prevents unnecessary stress and frustration. Boundaries aren't walls to shut people out. They're bridges to healthier, more balanced relationships. The next time you feel overwhelmed or taken for granted, pause and ask yourself, have I communicated my needs clearly? Am I honoring my own boundaries? By setting limits, you free yourself from unnecessary obligations and reclaim your energy for what truly matters. Remember, you're not responsible for managing everyone else's feelings or fixing their problems. Your primary responsibility is to yourself, your peace, your time, and your emotional well-being. So protect your energy, set your boundaries, and watch how much lighter and more in control you feel. Because when you prioritize yourself, you give the best version of yourself to the world. 6. Detach from the opinions of others. Imagine this. You share an idea you're proud of with a group of people, but instead of support, you're met with criticism or indifference. That sting of disappointment is real, and it can spiral into self-doubt. But here's a question to ask yourself. Why does their opinion carry so much weight? The need for approval is deeply ingrained in us. But relying on external validation is like chasing shadows. You'll never truly catch it. Emotional freedom begins when you stop letting the opinions of others define your worth. Think of it this way. Everyone views the world through their own lens, shaped by their experiences, biases, and insecurities. What someone says about you often reveals more about them than it does about you. When you internalize their opinions, you give them power over your emotions and decisions. Why let someone else control your narrative? A simple yet powerful thought to remember. Your worth isn't up for debate. It's not tied to what others think of you, whether it's praise or criticism. It's something intrinsic, unshaken by external noise. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're wearing a brand new outfit you love, and a coworker makes a passing remark. That's an interesting choice. You could let their comment ruin your confidence, or you could remind yourself that their opinion doesn't diminish your joy. When you detach from the need for approval, you free yourself to live authentically. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This might sound harsh, but it's liberating. Growth often involves going against the grain or doing things others might not understand. Seeking approval can hold you back, while embracing your own path, even if misunderstood, sets you free. Here's how to start detaching from the opinions of others. Question their importance. When someone's opinion bothers you, ask yourself, why does this matter to me? What authority do they have over my life? Reaffirm your values. Focus on what matters to you, not what others expect. Ground yourself in your goals and principles. Practice letting go. When criticism or judgment arises, acknowledge it without clinging to it. Picture their words as leaves floating down a stream, there, but not lasting. Lao offers another perspective. Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or isolating yourself from others. It means filtering out what doesn't serve you. Constructive criticism can help you grow, but unwarranted judgment, that's theirs to carry, not yours. Think of detaching from opinions like shielding yourself from bad weather. The rain may fall, but it doesn't have to soak you. By focusing on your own inner compass, you remain grounded no matter how others perceive you. The next time someone's words shake your confidence, pause and ask yourself, am I living for them or for me? By choosing to detach, you reclaim your freedom, protect your peace, and build a life that's authentically yours. Remember, your path is yours alone, and it's far too important to be swayed by fleeting opinions. Respond with silence, not anger. Imagine this. You're in a heated argument. Someone says something hurtful or intentionally provocative, and you feel the anger rising. Your heart pounds, your face heats up, and your instinct is to fire back with a cutting remark. But what if instead of reacting, you simply say nothing? Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have when dealing with others' negativity. It's not about conceding or avoiding confrontation, it's about choosing calm over chaos. Responding with silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to value your peace over the need to retaliate. There's wisdom in this. The less you respond to negativity, the more peaceful your life becomes. Silence speaks volumes. It says, I won't let your behavior control me. Let's take an example. Imagine someone at work undermines you during a meeting, trying to make you look bad in front of others. You have two choices: engage in a back-and-forth argument or pause and respond with silence. By staying silent, you deny them the reaction they seek and maintain your composure, showing everyone around you who truly holds the higher ground. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "The best answer to anger is silence. Anger often seeks fuel to keep burning, and silence starves it. When you choose not to engage, you break the cycle of negativity and protect your emotional well-being." Think of silence as a shield. It deflects the noise without pulling you into the fight. Here's how to make silence your go-to response in moments of provocation. Pause before reacting. When someone says something provocative, take a moment to breathe. Silence creates space for clarity. Listen without defending. Sometimes people just want to vent or be heard. Let them speak without interrupting or feeling the need to explain yourself. Speak only when necessary. If a response is required, keep it calm, measured, and to the point. A Buddhist teaching reminds us, speak only if it improves upon the silence. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you choose when and how to express them. Silence doesn't ignore the problem. It preserves your energy for moments where your voice truly matters. Think about how often we regret words said in anger. Silence removes that regret. It allows you to reflect, reassess, and respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. And often, silence says more than words ever could. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause and ask yourself, will responding add value, or will it simply escalate the situation? By choosing silence, you protect your peace, demonstrate strength, and keep control of the narrative. Remember, silence isn't the absence of a response. It's the presence of wisdom. It's the ability to rise above the noise and say, "Your words don't control me. My peace does." And that's how you win the battle without ever raising your voice. Practice gratitude. Imagine you're having one of those days where everything seems to go wrong. Your plans fall apart, someone makes a rude comment, and the smallest inconveniences feel unbearable. Anger starts bubbling up and you think, why does everything have to be so difficult? Now pause. What if, instead of focusing on everything going wrong, you shifted your attention to what's going right? Gratitude has a way of turning anger into calm and reframing even the worst moments into opportunities for perspective and peace. Here's a powerful truth. You can't feel grateful and angry at the same time. Gratitude works like a mental reset button. It pulls you out of the spiral of negativity and reminds you of the good that still exists, even in frustrating situations. Take a simple example. You're stuck in traffic, running late to an important appointment. Instead of fuming at the cars ahead, try this. Take a deep breath and think of 3 things you're thankful for. Maybe it's the fact that you have a car, the opportunity you're headed toward, or even just the music playing on the radio. It might sound small, but this shift can transform your emotional state almost instantly. The philosopher Cicero said, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others." Gratitude doesn't just dissolve anger, it builds resilience, fosters patience, and helps you focus on what truly matters. It's a tool you can use anytime, anywhere, to protect your peace. Here's how to make gratitude a daily habit. Pause and reflect. When anger starts to rise, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, what's one thing I can be thankful for right now? Keep a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that went well, no matter how small they seem. This trains your mind to look for the positive. Use gratitude as a reframe. When faced with a challenge, think about what you can learn or how the situation could be worse. Gratitude often comes from recognizing what you still have. For example, let's say someone criticizes you harshly. Instead of letting anger take over, try reframing it. I'm grateful for the chance to learn from this feedback, even if it wasn't delivered kindly. This doesn't excuse the other person's behavior, but it keeps you in control of your emotions. The Buddha reminds us, let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us all be thankful. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's present. It's not about denying frustration or anger. It's about choosing to prioritize what uplifts you over what drags you down. The next time you feel anger creeping in, pause and ask yourself, what can I be thankful for in this moment? You'll find that gratitude doesn't just dissolve the anger, it replaces it with calm, clarity, and a sense of control. And in those moments, you'll realize that peace isn't something you find, it's something you create. Reframe. Criticism as a tool for growth. Imagine this. You've just shared an idea you're proud of, maybe at work, with friends, or online, and someone immediately shoots it down with harsh criticism. Your first instinct? Defensiveness, maybe even anger. It's natural to feel this way when your efforts are met with negativity. But what if you could reframe criticism, seeing it not as an attack, but as an opportunity to grow? Criticism, no matter how it's delivered, holds value if you're willing to look for it. It can show you blind spots, challenge your thinking, or push you to improve. When you shift your perspective, criticism stops being a source of frustration and becomes a tool for self-betterment. Here's an example. Imagine you're preparing a presentation and a colleague points out several flaws in your work. You could dismiss them, thinking, they're just trying to undermine me, or you could pause and reflect. Is there truth in what they're saying? How can I use this feedback to improve? By choosing the second approach, you turn what might feel like an attack into a stepping stone. A wise thought captures this perfectly. Criticism, like rain, should be gentle enough to nourish growth without destroying roots. This doesn't mean all criticism is valid or worth your attention. Some people criticize out of envy, ignorance, or malice. The key is to filter what you hear, keeping what's constructive and discarding what's not. Here's how to handle criticism with grace. Pause before reacting. When faced with criticism, take a moment to breathe. This helps you avoid reacting emotionally. Evaluate the source. Consider who's giving the feedback. Do they have your best interests in mind? Is their perspective informed? Find the lesson. Even poorly delivered criticism can carry a valuable insight. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Let's take a more personal example. Imagine a family member makes a critical remark about your choices, like your career or lifestyle. Instead of arguing or shutting down, you could say, I hear your concerns. I'll think about what you've said. This response shows maturity and gives you the chance to reflect later without escalating the conflict. Epictetus offers a timeless reminder. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he does not know my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these. This Stoic wisdom reminds us not to take criticism too personally. Instead, see it as part of the journey towards self-improvement. The next time someone critiques you, ask yourself, what can I learn from this feedback? Is this criticism about me, or does it reflect more about them? How can I grow from this moment? Lao Tzu reminds us, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Criticism, when approached with the right mindset, is a mirror that helps you understand yourself better. It's not always comfortable, but growth rarely is. By welcoming feedback, even when it stings, you develop resilience, humility, and a stronger sense of self. So the next time criticism comes your way, pause and reframe it. See it not as an obstacle, but as a stepping stone toward becoming your best self. Remember, growth often hides in discomfort, and those who embrace it unlock a level of strength that no criticism can shake. Master the art of letting go. Imagine holding on to a hot coal, determined to throw it at someone who hurt you. But while you're waiting for the right moment, the coal keeps burning your hand. Anger, grudges, and resentment work the same way. They harm you far more than the person who caused your pain. The real strength lies not in holding on, but in letting go. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or condoning what happened. It means releasing the emotional weight that drags you down, freeing yourself from the control of the past. When you let go, you reclaim your energy, your peace, and your ability to focus on the present. The Buddha puts it beautifully. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Think about a time when someone wronged you. Maybe it was a betrayal, an unfair judgment, or an unkind word. How much time did you spend replaying that moment in your mind? How much energy did you waste imagining confrontations or seeking revenge? Letting go is the antidote to this endless cycle. It allows you to move forward instead of staying trapped in the past. Here's an example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague takes credit for your idea. You could spend days stewing over the injustice, letting it affect your mood and productivity. Or you could let it go, recognizing that your worth isn't tied to one moment of recognition. By choosing the latter, you protect your peace and focus on what truly matters, your growth and future opportunities. Lao Tzu offers profound wisdom. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Letting go isn't just about releasing anger or resentment. It's also about letting go of perfectionism, fear of failure, or the need for control. It's about embracing life as it is, with all its unpredictability, and finding freedom in acceptance. Here's how to start practicing the art of letting go. Acknowledge your feelings. Suppressing emotions only makes them stronger. Allow yourself to feel hurt, anger, or disappointment without judgment. Reframe the situation. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I grow stronger because of it? Focus on the present. Letting go is a choice you make for yourself, not for the other person. Shift your attention to the here and now, where your power lies. Think of letting go like releasing a balloon. The longer you hold on to it, the more it strains your hand. But when you let it float away, you feel lighter and freer. Life becomes less about what happened and more about what's possible. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, do not be disturbed by what is outside your power. Let it go, and you will find peace. This doesn't mean letting people walk over you or ignoring injustice. It means choosing where to direct your energy. By letting go of what you can't change, you create space for what you can, a brighter, calmer, and more fulfilling life. So, the next time you find yourself clinging to anger or regret, pause and ask yourself, Is this worth my peace? What would my life look like if I let this go? The answer will guide you toward emotional freedom, because true strength isn't in holding on, it's in knowing when to release. And when you do, you'll discover that the lighter you feel, the stronger you become. And there you have it, 10 powerful lessons to help you master your emotions and stay unbothered no matter what life throws your way. These aren't just ideas, they're tools you can use every day to protect your peace, build resilience, and take control of your reactions. Remember, the goal isn't to suppress your feelings or become indifferent. It's to respond to life's challenges with clarity and strength. Emotional mastery isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you choose to react. The power to stay calm, centered, and free lies entirely in your hands. As you move forward, take these lessons with you. Practice pausing before you react. Set boundaries that protect your energy, and let go of the things and people you can't control. Each time you choose peace over anger, you take one step closer to living the unshakable life you deserve. If you found value in this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need a little extra calm in their life. And if you have your own tips or experiences about staying unbothered, I'd love to hear them. Drop a comment below. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, emotional freedom isn't a destination. It's a practice. So keep showing up for yourself, stay mindful, and keep growing stronger every day. The Stoics, an ancient school of philosophy, believed that true strength lies not in conquering external forces, but in mastering our own emotions. In today's world, this wisdom is more relevant than ever. Have you ever felt drained by negativity after interacting with someone? Toxic people can disrupt our mental well-being, leaving us feeling frustrated and powerless. But what if there were practical strategies to navigate these difficult dynamics? We'll go over 13 practical, Stoic-inspired ideas in this video that will give you the ability to handle toxic people with compassion, grace, and even resilience. Join me on a journey to protect your emotional well-being and subscribe to the channel for more tips on developing mental resilience. By the end of this video, you'll be equipped with a toolbox of Stoic wisdom to handle toxic people effectively. So take a deep breath and let's begin. Number 1. Identifying and understanding the toxic threat. Take a moment to picture yourself serving as a guard at the entrance to your very own personal citadel. Your inner tranquility, your physical health, and your emotional safety are all represented by this citadel. Without a doubt, awareness is the first line of defense in the process of protecting this fortress as well. In the same way that a watchful guard has to be able to notice potential dangers, you need to be able to recognize the indicators that a poisonous individual is approaching you. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was a proponent of reason and self-control, tells us in his Enchiridion that it is not what happens to you that upsets you. More importantly, it is your judgment of what happens. It is especially important to keep this piece of advice in mind while dealing with poisonous people. It is not the case that their negative attitudes and manipulative acts have the ability to exert force over you. Your emotional reaction to these activities and how you perceive them are the factors that determine the effect that they have on your sense of inner peace at any given moment. How to cultivate a Stoic gaze, that is, a calm and objective method of viewing the situation, is the key to success. Learning to recognize the characteristics of poisonous conduct is a necessary step in this process. Listed below are some important warning signs. Constant criticism. A toxic individual may find nothing but fault with you, your conduct, or the decisions you make on a consistent basis. Although this criticism may be indirect or overt, it will always leave you feeling deflated and uncertain about your abilities. Toxic people frequently resort to deceptive strategies in order to achieve the goals they have set for themselves. In an effort to exert control over your conduct, they may resort to flattery, guilt trips, or even threats. A toxic person appears to thrive on negativity. Negativity is a toxic person. They are continuously whining and pulling others down with their pessimism so that they can focus on the worst aspects of the problems they are concerned with. Additionally, in addition to these general indications, there are also several types of toxic personalities that you should be aware of. The narcissist is a person who is constantly looking for approval and adoration throughout their life. It is possible that they are charming at first, but in the end, their interactions are one-sided, leaving you feeling emotionally exhausted. This individual lives on social turmoil. According to the gossip, they are known to propagate rumors, stir up trouble, and take pleasure in causing friction between other people. Known as the energy vampire, this individual has the ability to drain your vitality. As the term says, interactions with them leave you feeling cognitively and emotionally drained and fatigued. Emotionally, the development of a mental map of the potential dangers that could befall your inner citadel can be accomplished by first gaining an awareness of the many toxic personalities and the actions that they display. In the same way that a Roman Stoic philosopher like Seneca might devise a plan to combat an adversary on the battlefield, you may make use of your newly acquired awareness to anticipate the strategies employed by potentially harmful individuals and devise a strategy to safeguard your emotional well-being. Number 2. Fortify your walls. Put yourself in the shoes of Marcus Aurelius, the famous Stoic emperor of Rome. In order to rule a wide empire, one needed to possess power, knowledge, and unyielding determination. When it comes to strengthening the walls of your own inner citadel, often known as your emotional well-being, these same attributes are vital. Undoubtedly, the boundaries that you have established are the foundation of this citadel. When dealing with toxic people, boundaries are the obvious lines that you create in the sand to demarcate your boundaries. They determine the kinds of conduct that you will and will not approve of. You should not permit poisonous people to intrude on your emotional territory in the same way that a powerful monarch would not permit his boundaries to be violated. What comes into play here is the Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes the importance of reason and self-control. In order to take the initial step, you must first determine which activities deplete your energy or violate your sense of who you are. Is it the persistent pessimism shared by a friend, when a co-worker engages in manipulative behavior, the intrusive counsel of a member of the family? Make sure that you are open and honest with yourself about the things that you will not bear. The next step, when you have determined these boundaries, is to communicate them in a clear and concise manner. Tap into your inner Marcus Aurelius and be firm while still being fair. To facilitate effective communication, the following are some strategies. Think about how you are feeling and use I statements. Rather than making accusing words such as, "You are always so negative," you could try saying something like, "I feel drained when you constantly focus on the unpleasant things." Be as specific as possible. Take care not to leave any chance for misunderstanding. Rather than saying something like, "I need some space," you should say something like, "I can't talk right now, but I'd be happy to chat later this week." Keep your word, but be kind at the same time. There is a distinction between being assertive and being aggressive. It is important to convey your point with self-assurance while avoiding animosity. On the other hand, establishing boundaries is not a one-time experience. When it comes to enforcing your boundaries, you need to be hard and consistent, just like a Stoic ruler who is always on guard against barbarian invasions. A wall that is unstable is simple to dismantle. In the event that a toxic individual disregards your limits, you should remind them in a calm manner of the line that has been established. It may even be necessary for you to restrict your interaction with the person or completely withdraw from the situation. Keep in mind that establishing limits is not about punishing someone, rather, it is about protecting yourself. Envy, a vice that frequently serves as a source of poisonous talk, was vigorously avoided by the Stoics. Through the establishment of boundaries, you are not engaging in selfish behavior. Rather, you are merely safeguarding your emotional well-being and establishing the space that is necessary for you to build inner peace within the context of your Stoic path toward a life of peace. A strong citadel that is characterized by boundaries that are clearly defined and well defended is an essential component. Number 3. Become uninteresting to the emotional barbarian. Become uninteresting to the emotional barbarian. Take into consideration a ferocious emotional barbarian who is driven by pessimism and is looking for a dramatic conflict. There are certain poisonous persons who act in this manner. They rely on attention, on your emotional response, and their negativity thrives on that. In the hopes of eliciting a response, a glimmer of fury or hurt that will fuel their fire, they constantly poke and poke with insults. The Stoic ideals of emotional regulation and indifference to external stimuli served as the inspiration for the grey rock method, which comes into its own as a strong instrument in this context. Paul Fredman, a therapist, created a technique known as the grey rock method. It is a strategy that involves being emotionally less receptive. It is not about fully shutting down. Rather, it is about providing the emotional equivalent of a smooth grey rock, a surface that is neutral and unyielding and which does not provide any handholds for the negative to cling to. In order to further dissect this approach, let us draw upon the sage advice of Seneca, a great Roman Stoic philosopher. Seneca tells us that true happiness resides in enjoying the present without anxious dependence upon the future. This is a reminder that we should starve ourselves of the need for attention. People who are toxic most of the time seek attention, whether it be positive or negative. With the grey rock method, you are preventing them from experiencing the emotional response that they are looking for. In the midst of the storm that they are attempting to generate, you become uninteresting, and just like a dull rock, responses that are neutral serve as your armor. The grey rock method entails reacting to negative statements with statements that are neutral and true on purpose. It is important to refrain from becoming involved in emotional disputes or justifications. If you have a friend that is toxic and they insult your work, you can deflect their assault by saying, "That's interesting," without giving them any more fuel to feed their negativity. Toxic people frequently attempt to control your emotions. Thus, it is important to avoid getting sucked into the emotional vortex. They could resort to sarcasm, guilt trips, or even plain hostility in their behavior. In this situation, the most important thing is to disengage from their emotional vortex. Maintain your composure and respond in a factual manner, refusing to become involved in their drama. It is important to keep in mind that Seneca teaches that the path to genuine happiness is to not amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears. You should not give them the emotional power that they are seeking. The grey rock method is a potent instrument, but it is not a substitute for a miracle cure. It's possible that some toxic personalities will initially escalate their conduct, putting your emotional rock to the test. Keep your cool, be consistent, and keep in mind that you are not to blame for the negativity that they are displaying. You can turn yourself from a passive victim of their emotional theatrics into an unmoved spectator by applying this method that is influenced by Stoicism. This will defend your inner calm and emotional well-being. Number 4. The broken record. The broken record technique. Imagine being subjected to a never-ending onslaught of manipulation. A toxic individual chipping away at your boundaries through deceptive arguments and emotional ploys. Being subjected to such a persistent onslaught can be both emotionally tiring and unpleasant. Don't be afraid, however. The Stoic principles of unshakable reason and perseverance serve as the inspiration for the broken record technique, which emerges as a potent defense when used. The broken record technique is a strategy that was developed to combat deceptive tactics. It entails patiently repeating a clear declaration about your position, similar to how a broken record skips on the same unshakable message. This method, which appears to be quite straightforward, has the potential to be remarkably powerful in repelling attempts to derail you and maintaining a firm focus on your requirements. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Therefore, let us explore deeper into this technique by drawing upon his wisdom. The phrase, "freedom is the only good," describes the power of perseverance. This freedom encompasses the ability to determine your own boundaries, as well as the liberty to say no without providing an explanation. This essential principle is exemplified by the broken record technique. You are able to display your steadfast resolution and prevent the manipulator from pulling you off course by reiterating your viewpoint in a calm and relentless manner, defending against emotional attacks for the purpose of gaining the upper hand. Manipulators frequently deploy emotional strategies. They could try to manipulate you by using flattery, guilt trips, or even fury in an effort to get you to do what they want. You are able to avoid these emotional assaults with the assistance of the broken record technique. You are able to deflect their attempts to manipulate your emotions and keep the argument based in reason by concentrating on the factual statement of your stance. The consistent repetition of your position can be very disconcerting to a manipulator. This is because repetition is considered to be a form of defense. The flow of their conversation is disrupted, they are thrown off balance, and the hollowness of their arguments is brought to light. Imagine a wave crashing on a rock that is very strong. The rock does not move at all, while the wave ultimately disappears. Contrary to popular belief, the broken record technique does not involve confrontation. Maintaining a firm focus on your stance while enforcing your boundaries in a calm manner is something that is important. Keep in mind that Stoicism places a strong emphasis on reason and logic as the guiding principles for managing the problems that life presents. Through the utilization of this method, you give yourself the ability to resist exploitation and safeguard your inner peace with unyielding determination. Number 5. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. Imagine a skilled angler who is casting a line that is baited with negative thoughts in the hopes of catching you in a whirlpool of all kinds of emotional drama. They dangle provocations, insults, or guilt trips in the hopes of eliciting a reaction that will fuel their drama and feed their negativity. This is the strategy that many toxic people do. However, the Stoic philosophy provides a great defense which is indifference. This is not the same thing as apathy. Rather, it refers to the state of being emotionally detached from something. The Stoics, particularly philosophers such as Epictetus, made a distinction between apathy and indifference. In their opinion, apathy was a state that characterized a lack of concern and a state of listlessness. The concept of indifference, on the other hand, refers to a disconnection from the unpleasant feelings and judgments that distort our own reason. When it comes to dealing with toxic people, this distinction is really important. The following is an explanation of how Stoic indifference can assist you in avoiding going for the drama bait. Be aware of the strategy. The first stage is to be aware of the strategy. Become familiar with the telltale signals that a toxic individual is attempting to lure you in. What exactly is it? Is it a sarcastic remark, a veiled insult, or a guilt trip that is camouflaged as a proposal? By the time you have identified the strategy, you have to a certain extent rendered it ineffective. The bait is intended to elicit a response such as wrath, annoyance, or defensiveness, and it is important to detach yourself from the emotional hook. Stoic indifference, on the other hand, is a choice that allows you to avoid becoming emotionally tied to the negative aspects of the situation. Consider the scenario in which you are unable to take the bait that is hanging in the water. You examine it with cool composure, unaffected by the power it possesses to anger you. Let the drama dissolve. When you don't respond to their negative comments, the power that they have over you is diminished due to a shortage of fuel. The drama that they are attempting to build is unable to last in the absence of a response. Their scathing remarks remain suspended in the air, eventually losing their power. It is not necessary to transform into a heartless and uncaring machine. The practice of Stoicism promotes the expression of good emotions. On the other hand, it places an emphasis on detaching from negative emotions that you are unable to control and channeling your feelings toward things that you can control. You can turn yourself from a passive player in their drama into a peaceful observer by practicing Stoic indifference. This allows you to demonstrate that you are not willing to become involved in their emotional web. It is your own inner serenity that continues to exist, a refuge that is unaffected by the storms that others attempt to generate. Number 6. The art of the non-reaction. The art of the non-reaction. Imagine somebody who is a verbal gladiator, someone who is a master of insults and barbs and who thrives on the heated back and forth of an argument. There are some poisonous folks who call this domain their home. They use words as weapons with the intention of inciting anger, humiliating you, and ultimately luring you into their emotional sphere. Presented here is a Stoic strategy that is not only effective but also frequently underappreciated: the art of the non-reaction. When deployed in a planned manner, silence has the potential to be an effective weapon against the lethal verbal assault by causing a disruption in the dynamic that they want. It disarms them. Astonishingly, quiet, on the other hand, is not something that comes effortlessly to everyone. The desire to answer, to defend ourselves, or to win the argument is something that we are frequently conditioned to feel for ourselves. Stoicism, on the other hand, teaches us the significance of mastering our reactions, and a stillness maintained at the appropriate moment indicates true control. In order to have a clearer understanding of the strength of the non-reaction, let us consider the writings of Marcus Aurelius, the well-known Roman Stoic emperor. Putting a stop to the toxic dance. People who are toxic frequently rely on a pattern that is predictable. Their tone is pessimistic, and they anticipate a response from you. When you show anger, annoyance, or defensiveness toward them, you are adding fuel to their fire and maintaining the toxic dance. Having no reaction causes this pattern to be disrupted. You are denying them the emotional response that they are looking for by choosing silence. Just for a moment, picture a tennis player swinging their racket toward a court that is completely empty. Their tremendous serve falls with a thud, and everything that follows is complete silence. In this perspective, silence is not empty. It is a form of communication that conveys meaning without words. This demonstrates that you have a high level of self-control and that you are unwilling to partake in their negative behavior. The message that it sends is one of strength and non-attachment to the emotional manipulation that they are engaging in. It is important to remember that Marcus Aurelius advised us to waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Become one. The attributes of a good Stoic are exemplified by your quiet. You are calm, reasonable, and unmoved by the provocations that come from the outside world. Prepare yourself for the escalation. When using the non-reaction, it is essential to apply a planned approach wherever possible. In the beginning, a toxic person may increase their efforts by hurling further verbal insults in an effort to elicit a response from the other person. Keep your composure and remain unmoved in your quiet. It is important to keep in mind that quiet is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a powerful instrument that is utilized by those who are truly strong. The non-reaction is not a solution that can be applied in every situation, but it is an important weapon in your Stoic armory. It has the potential to disarm poisonous people, defend your inner peace, and demonstrate that you have power over your own emotions when it is utilized strategically. When you choose quiet, you are making a powerful message in and of itself because you are choosing not to play their game. Number 7. Limit your exposure. Limit your exposure. Imagine that you are inside your walled citadel, where your mental health is being painstakingly preserved by strict boundaries. During the entire process, however, even the most sturdy walls are not able to totally protect you from dangers that come from the outside. Contaminated individuals, just like persistent intruders, may nevertheless make an effort to penetrate your safeguards. The Stoic idea of controlling what you can control comes into play at this point in the discussion for you. Although you are unable to control the actions of toxic people, you are able to manage the amount of time you spend with them. One of the first lines of defense in this method is to reduce the amount of time you spend interacting with people who are toxic when it is possible. Establish physical distance. Would you be able to completely avoid them? It is possible for you to reschedule a lunch engagement or to respectfully remove yourself from something that is being discussed. Keep in mind that this is not about being impolite. Rather, it is about protecting oneself. In the same way that a Stoic leader would not send his forces into a conflict that was not essential, you should not subject yourself to negativity that is simply not necessary. Nevertheless, it is not always feasible to avoid something completely. On occasion, toxic people may be people who work with you, members of your family, or even close friends and acquaintances. In these kinds of circumstances, establishing emotional distance becomes absolutely necessary. This can be accomplished by the following strategies. Epictetus, a notable Stoic philosopher, tells us that happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one another. This is a quote by Epictetus, which highlights the importance of mental detachment. Nevertheless, this does not imply that there is emotional involvement. You are able to comprehend the pessimism of another individual without allowing it to color your attitude. Exercise mental detachment by observing their conduct in an impartial manner, without allowing yourself to become emotionally invested in it. Cognitive reframing. Persons that are toxic to you will frequently attempt to control your feelings by using negativity. Cognitive reframing, a method that is greatly influenced by Stoic concepts, can be of great assistance in this situation. Transform their pessimism into an objective observation by reframing it. In the event that a co-worker is continually complaining, for instance, you may reframe the situation as they appear to be having a difficult day, rather than allowing their negativity to bring you down. Toxic people thrive on negativity. Thus, it is important to focus on the positive. Try not to give them the ability to take away your happiness. Make a concerted effort to concentrate on the positive aspects of your life, such as the personal interests you enjoy, the significant work you do, and the supporting friends you have. Allow yourself to be emotionally protected by these beneficial factors, a safe haven from the negative that they bring. There is no such thing as cowardice when it comes to limiting your exposure, both physically and emotionally. Protecting your inner peace and practicing self-care are both important. Stoics have a strong belief in the importance of leading a moral life and acting rationally. When you reduce the amount of time you spend interacting with negative people and situations, you make room for yourself to nurture a good and flourishing inner life. Imagine that your fortress is encircled by a large moat, which, in addition to being a physical barrier, also serves as an emotional barrier, protecting your peace from the advancing negativity of poisonous people. Number 8. Build your support system. Build your support system. Just for a moment, picture yourself serving as a guard at the entrance to your inner castle. Your walls have been strengthened with boundaries. You have perfected the art of non-reaction, and you have reduced the number of toxic people you are present with. However, in order to fully defend your position, even the most courageous warrior requires a powerful flank, which is a formation of trustworthy allies. Your support system is your Stoic phalanx, which is an essential component in ensuring that you maintain your inner serenity when you are engaged in the fight against negativity. The Stoics, especially notably philosophers such as Seneca, placed a strong emphasis on the significance of living a life that is in harmony with nature. These guiding principles are exemplified by a network of virtuous individuals who are supportive of you, who inspire you, and who share your fundamental beliefs. In difficult times, you may turn to them for support and guidance. They are the people who will listen to you, offer wise counsel, and offer unwavering encouragement. One way in which a robust support system might serve as a buffer against the negative influence of toxic individuals is as follows. In the process of dealing with toxic people, it can be emotionally draining to have a safe space for sharing. It is possible to create a secure environment in which to analyze your experiences and express your frustrations when you have trusted friends or family members to whom you can confide. Their comprehension and compassion can serve as a vital support system, serving as a reminder that you are not fighting this struggle alone. Toxic people frequently take away from your sense of self-worth, but they may also be a source of encouragement. An effective support system serves as a counterforce, providing you with encouragement and reminding you of your abilities and the value you bring to the world. Their faith in you has the power to strengthen your determination and rekindle the fire that burns inside you, particularly in situations where negativity threatens to extinguish it. Setting an example of virtue and positivity, the Stoics held the belief that it is important to surround oneself with persons who exemplify the characteristics that one wishes to cultivate. A network of virtuous individuals who are supportive of one another might serve as a positive role model. It is possible to learn and develop by seeing the strength, resilience, and optimistic outlook that they possess. This will help you increase your own capacity to gracefully manage negative situations. The process of constructing a solid network of support is one that never ends. In order to accomplish this, you will need to cultivate relationships that already exist and look for people who match your beliefs in order to cultivate this beautiful phalanx. Here are some ways to do so. Invest in quality time. Set aside time to have meaningful interactions with the people who are responsible for your support. You may build a sense of connection by sharing your experiences, listening to theirs, and sharing your own. Joining clubs, volunteer organizations, or online communities that are congruent with your interests and values is a great way to bring together people who share your values and interests. This place is filled with people who share your values and who can serve as a natural source of support and encouragement. It is important to remember that the power of showing gratitude to those who are supporting you can never be underestimated. Please express your gratitude to them for the great influence they have on your well-being, as well as for their presence in your life and their unflinching support. Through the cultivation of a robust Stoic phalanx, you may establish a formidable shield that protects you from the negativity that is caused by poisonous people. Strength, perspective, and a revitalized sense of optimism are all things that you acquire when you are surrounded by positive influences. Always keep in mind that even the most well-guarded fortress might benefit from a robust defense from the outside. Your support system, which consists of your trusty companions, transforms into your unyielding phalanx, guaranteeing that your inner serenity continues to possess a secure and protected sanctuary. Number 9. Prioritize self-care. Prioritize self-care. Making contact with toxic individuals is analogous to being confronted with an unrelenting assault in combat. The emotional energy that you have is depleted, and you may end up feeling exhausted as a result. When it comes to protecting yourself against negativity, self-care becomes an essential component. Much as a Stoic warrior would make it a priority to tend to their wounds and sharpen their blade after a battle, your Stoic style of living should include self-care as a fundamental component. Include it in your daily routine and think of it as an investment in your mental well-being. Make it a priority alongside other vital chores and schedule it into your schedule. Your emotional reserves can be replenished, and your resistance to negativity can be strengthened through the following approaches of self-care. Participate in activities that bring you joy. Determine the activities that bring you actual delight and can help you relax. Exercises that are physical in nature, such as running or yoga, as well as artistic activities such as painting or writing, could fall under this category. You are able to de-stress, recharge your emotional batteries, and return to the world with newfound energy and perspective when you participate in these activities and immerse yourself in them. The Stoics engaged in awareness practices that were analogous to meditation. These practices were also known as meditation. Through the practice of meditation, you are able to calm your mind, disengage from negative thoughts, and create inner peace. When you make meditation a regular part of your self-care regimen, you give yourself a great tool to manage stress and negativity, whether it comes from yourself or from other people who are poisonous to you. Seek solace in nature. The Stoics placed a strong emphasis on living in agreement with the natural world. The act of spending time in natural settings, whether it be a walk in a park or a hike through the woods, has a significant influence on our overall health and happiness. If you want to alleviate stress, enhance your mood, and gain a sense of perspective that can help you fight the negativity that you experience from toxic people, then you should try to immerse yourself in the natural world as a type of preventative maintenance for your emotional well-being. You might think of self-care as practicing self-care. A person who is well-rested and centered is in a far better position to deal with negative emotions. In the same way that a Stoic warrior would make sure their armor was sturdy and their sword was sharp, you may nurture your emotional resilience by engaging in self-care techniques. Listen to the signals your body sends you. Continuous communication is taking place between you and your body. Observe the symptoms of exhaustion, tension, or emotional depletion, and pay attention to them. To make self-care a priority, you shouldn't wait until you are utterly exhausted before doing so. Incorporate healthy eating, make sure you get enough sleep, and take breaks throughout the day. The basis for your emotional resilience is laid by these routines, which may appear to be straightforward. In the same way that you established boundaries with people who are poisonous to you, you should also establish boundaries around the time you spend on self-care. Denying requests that might interfere with your time to relax, or setting aside certain times throughout the day to engage in activities that promote self-care, are examples of ways to accomplish this. Always keep in mind that putting your own well-being first is not an act of selfishness. Rather, it is necessary for preserving your emotional resilience. You can become a more powerful and well-balanced individual by implementing self-care into your Stoic way of life. A Stoic warrior would be prepared to meet any adversary, and you approach obstacles with a better perspective and emotional fortitude, much like a Stoic warrior would. It is important to keep in mind that having a full emotional battery enables you to more effectively deflect negativity and radiate positivity, so establishing a formidable shield against the toxic people in your circle of existence. Number 10. Remember, it's not about you. Remember, it's not about you. Picture yourself with a dark cloud looming over you, spewing out negativity and obscuring your view of the outside world. When you're working with toxic people, you will frequently encounter situations like this. They create a poisonous environment by projecting their own worries, insecurities, and issues onto those around them, which results in people being affected negatively. The concept of prohairesis, which is rooted in Stoic philosophy, serves as a formidable defense mechanism in this context. We are encouraged to view ourselves as intelligent observers who are standing outside of the emotional tornado. Through the use of the phrase prohairesis, which is utilized by Stoic philosophers, we become impartial analyzers of the issue, separating ourselves from the negative aspects of the scenario and concentrating on the rational aspects. When interacting with toxic people, it is essential to maintain this level of detachment because the insults and negativity they express are rarely directed at the individual. Rather, they are reflections of the individual's own inner issues. You can navigate the toxicity of toxic people by utilizing Stoic detachment in the following ways. In order to divert attention away from their own inadequacies, toxic people frequently resort to blaming others, criticizing others, and being negative. You are able to discern this projection for what it is by applying the prohairesis. Distancing yourself from the emotional undercurrent will allow you to observe their conduct in an impartial manner, much like a scientist would while investigating a phenomenon. You are able to comprehend that their negativity is a product of their own internal landscape and not a reflection of you or your worth. When you have the ability to detach yourself from the situation for a moment, Their behavior is not a reflection of your character. Rather, it is a symptom of themselves and the problems they are experiencing. Take, for example, the dark cloud. Although it may throw a shadow, it has nothing to do with the ground that it momentarily obscures. The sky above still has the sun blazing brightly. Epictetus, a major Stoic philosopher, tells us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. This highlights the need of focusing on your Stoic path. The length of our lives is sufficient, and a considerable quantity has been bestowed upon us for the most important reasons, provided that we are able to make the most of it correctly. If you want to avoid wasting your valuable time and energy, you should avoid getting involved with the negative energy of toxic people. Maintain your emotional distance. Make it a priority to look after your own health and keep moving forward on the Stoic path that will lead you to a life filled with virtue and calm. It is not the same thing as apathy to be detached. While it is possible to show compassion for their troubles, it is not necessary for you to become a victim of the emotional storms that they are experiencing. You can protect your inner calm and emotional well-being by practicing Stoic detachment, which requires you to change yourself from a passive target into a centered observer. It is important to keep in mind that the sun is still shining brilliantly above the mountains of clouds. Number 11. Don't try to fix them. Don't try to fix them. The desire to mend, to heal, and to engage in the role of a therapist can be powerful, particularly when you are confronted with a person you care about who engages in behaviors that are harmful to others. On the other hand, in the sphere of Stoicism, this road frequently results in frustration and a depletion of one's own emotional reserves. When it comes to cultivating transformation, toxic individuals, like plants that are suffocated by weeds, require their own willpower and work. This transition cannot be compelled by any means, for the following reasons. Stoicism places a greater emphasis on concentrating on what you are able to control, which is your own reactions and interactions, rather than making an effort to change a toxic person. The onus of accountability for the actions of a toxic person is entirely on the individual himself or herself. It is necessary for them to make the deliberate decision to address their negative emotions and look for a way to achieve virtue. Trying to take on this responsibility for them will only result in an unhealthy dynamic and will hinder them from taking responsibility for the problems they are experiencing. One of the fundamental principles of Stoicism is the acceptance of things that are beyond one's ability to control. This includes things like the actions of other people, the circumstances of the outer world, and the ever-changing conditions of existence. The negativity that is exhibited by a poisonous person is a perfect example of this category. Because you have come to terms with this fact, you have liberated yourself from the fruitless effort to alter them. Imagine that your inner tranquility is a blooming garden. This is the focus of your Stoic garden. The toxic people in your life, with their negative attitude, are like weeds that threaten to suffocate the growth that you have painstakingly cultivated. You are wasting your time and effort by attempting to uproot them in the garden of another person. Put your attention on things that are important to you, such as establishing positive connections, tending to your virtues, and engaging in self-care practices. The Stoic philosophy, on the other hand, places a high importance on assisting others in achieving virtue. If you feel compelled, there are ways to encourage a toxic person to engage in self-reflection. However, it is important to keep in mind that you have limitations. Instead of trying to dictate the path that they should take to change, You should offer materials that could potentially stimulate their own introspection. Then, you would try to solve their problem. A book on good communication, a recommendation for a therapist, or even just a kind suggestion to evaluate the consequences of their actions could be included in this, depending on the circumstances. You can have the most significant influence on others by demonstrating Stoic principles in your own life. This is the most effective way to lead by example. You have the ability to act as a vibrant beacon, a monument to the transformational power of Stoic ideas. Through your calm attitude, measured responses, and unwavering emphasis on virtue, sometimes despite your best attempts, a toxic person will continue to be entrenched in their negativity. It is important to know when to get away from them. In circumstances like these, Stoicism recommends establishing boundaries and, if necessary, withdrawing from the situation in order to safeguard one's own well-being. Keep in mind that you are unable to influence their trip, but you have the ability to pick your own path. Through the process of internalizing these ideas, you will convert yourself from a frustrated fixer into a Stoic facilitator. You are able to provide assistance without jeopardizing your own health, and you are able to develop a garden that may flourish in spite of the weeds that may be growing in other areas. Number 12. When to walk away. When to walk away. Imagine if you are looking for safety amid the tranquility of your Stoic castle of refuge. You have developed your emotional detachment, and you have planted a healthy inner garden. You have also strengthened your walls by establishing limits. Nevertheless, in spite of your best efforts, the negativity that comes from a toxic individual continues to remain, posing a threat to your defenses. The ability to recognize when it is appropriate to withdraw from a situation is a fundamental Stoic precept. Making the decision to leave a toxic relationship, particularly one that involves close family members or co-workers, can be a decision that is extremely difficult to make. Prioritizing your mental health, on the other hand, is of the utmost importance. Stoics have a strong belief in the importance of leading a moral life and acting rationally. In direct opposition to these ideals is the practice of maintaining a relationship that undermines your sense of inner calm. This is why the Stoic philosophy is consistent with the practice of removing oneself from a harmful situation. Keeping your Stoic sanctuary safe, your inner serenity is your sacred sanctuary, a place of refuge that you develop through self-care, mindfulness, and Stoic practices. And someone that is poisonous with their unrelenting negativity is comparable to a persistent siege that is being laid on your fortress. It is possible to safeguard your emotional well-being and secure your sanctuary by removing yourself from the situation. Put your attention on what really matters. Seneca, a great Stoic philosopher, reminds us that life is a precious commodity by saying, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately." Continuing to be in a relationship that is unhealthy is a waste of this valuable time and energy. You give yourself the opportunity to invest in positive connections, meaningful pursuits, and experiences that nourish your spirit and contribute to a flourishing existence. When you move away from whatever is holding you back, accepting that which is out of our control is a key component of Stoicism, and other people's behaviors are a fantastic example of this. Moreover, Stoicism promotes detachment during this period. A decision to walk away from something does not indicate weakness or defeat. Rather, it indicates acceptance of a circumstance that you are unable to change, and a deliberate choice to detach from negative emotions. You are not giving up on the individual, rather, you are giving up on the poisonous dynamic that is detrimental to your body and mind. Moving on from a situation is not a choice that should be made flippantly. Take into consideration the following factors. Have you tried every other possible course of action? Do you have any experience with communication, establishing limits, or providing resources? Is there a recurring pattern of negativity, or is it a specific instance? Do you feel that the connection has a significant impact on your well-being? It's not necessary for there to be a dramatic scene as you walk away. The gradual withdrawal of contact, politely declining invites, or simply limiting communication are all techniques that have the potential to be beneficial. Keep in mind that removing yourself from a situation is a Stoic act of protecting your inner calm and a type of self-care. You can live a life that is led by reason, virtue, and peace if you make your well-being a priority. This will allow you to create room for positive relationships and experiences to develop. Number 13. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Consider the following scenario. You are about to embark on a lengthy journey, and you are carrying a hefty bag that is full of hatred and fury toward a poisonous individual. The weight of this responsibility slows you down, preventing you from making progress and draining your energy. Within the Stoic framework, forgiveness is defined as the process of releasing one's emotional baggage, not for the sake of the other person, but for one's own sake. The Stoics placed a strong emphasis on the significance of accepting things that are beyond our ability to control, with the actions of other people serving as a notable example. The act of harboring hate and resentment toward a person who creates a toxic environment falls clearly inside this category. Remaining steadfast in these unfavorable feelings will only cause you harm, contaminating your present and casting doubt on your future. Stoic principles equip you with the ability to forgive yourself and free yourself from the load of negativity in the following ways. Concentrate on your inner landscape. The Stoics held the belief that the actual source of power is the ability to govern one's own ideas and actions rather than the acts of others or the events that occur in the outside world. In order to recover control of your inner landscape and make room for serenity and emotional well-being, you must first forgive yourself and then let go of any animosity you may continue to harbor. Forgiveness, in the Stoic understanding, does not involve condoning the behavior of the poisonous person. Rather, it is about accepting the behavior of the toxic person, acknowledging what has occurred, coming to terms with the fact that it is beyond your control, and making the decision to move forward with a lighter heart. These are all important steps. The famous Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius tells us that you have power over your mind. You do not have power over events that occur outside of yourself. Make this a reality, and you will discover your strength. Your ability to forgive gives you the ability to reclaim this power. Finding a way to break the cycle of negativity. Resentment is a prison that one has created for oneself. If you continue to hold on to it, you are allowing the toxic person to continue to have a detrimental impact on your life, even though they are no longer there. A break in this cycle can be achieved by forgiving yourself, which will release you from the emotional shackles of the past. The process of forgiving oneself does not take place overnight. In order to foster forgiveness, here are some ways to do so. Recognize your feelings. The first thing you need to do is recognize the feelings of anger, hurt, or resentment that you are experiencing. When these feelings are repressed, it just serves to slow down the healing process. Practicing self-compassion entails treating oneself with the same empathy and consideration that you would provide to a friend experiencing a similar situation. Not only are you a victim of their negativity, but you are also a victim of their behavior. Make an effort to evaluate the event in an objective manner. Was the toxic individual acting maliciously, or were there other things at play that contributed to the situation? Transforming your point of view can help cultivate empathy and understanding, which in turn can pave the road for forgiveness. A gift is something that you offer to yourself, and forgiveness is a gift. You may make room for emotional healing, progress, and a life that is more rewarding by letting go of the burden of negativity. Imagine that you are going on your journey, your backpack lighter and your heart lighter, and that you are prepared to accept the adventures that are still to come with a renewed sense of strength and tranquility. You have the ability to convert yourself from a passive victim of toxic people into a resilient warrior of your inner peace by applying these 13 methods that are inspired by Stoic philosophical thought. Keep in mind that a life that is devoid of negativity is a life that is worth fighting for. Have you ever longed for someone to miss you so deeply that you're the very first thought they have when they open their eyes in the morning and the last one before they drift off at night? If that's something you've wished for, then you're exactly where you need to be. Today, we're going to uncover the secrets of becoming truly unforgettable. We're diving into timeless Stoic principles, not just to stir a little longing, but to help you transform into someone whose absence creates a powerful and irresistible presence. Seneca once shared a profound truth: absence intensifies love, while presence reinforces it. With that in mind, let's learn how to sharpen love to such a degree that your absence leaves a meaningful imprint. Don't skip any part of what we're about to explore, because each principle contributes an essential piece to the overall puzzle of becoming someone whose absence is genuinely felt. Before we get started, here's a quick, fun little challenge for you. Leave a comment below with the phrase, "on their mind tomorrow." It's short, sweet, and perfectly captures what we're diving into today. Plus, it'll be fun to see how many of you are taking part in this journey. Now, let's get ready to explore these 10 powerful Stoic strategies that will not only increase your presence in someone's heart, but will also make them truly yearn for you when you're not around. Let's begin with the first principle: self-sufficiency. You might be asking yourself, how can being independent make someone miss me more? The answer lies in demonstrating that you are whole and complete on your own, which is both attractive and captivating in any relationship. Think about it like this. When you're self-sufficient, you're not constantly reaching out for attention or leaning heavily on your partner for emotional support. Instead, you're actively living your life, pursuing your passions, meeting your own needs, and thriving as an individual. This kind of independence doesn't push people away, it pulls them in. It piques curiosity and earns admiration. Your partner begins to see you not just as their significant other, but as someone strong, centered, and thriving independently. When you're not always available or relying on them to bring you joy, you create a healthy space in the relationship. And this space isn't about emotional distance, it's about allowing each other to grow as individuals. What do they start to feel when you're not there? They begin to think about you. They remember how gracefully you manage life, how composed you are, how self-directed your choices seem. This memory, this vision of your strength and autonomy, begins to spark longing. They miss the version of you that stands tall and independent. So embrace your self-sufficiency. It's not about distancing yourself. It's about inspiring a deeper, more respectful admiration of your presence. And as you cultivate that independence, don't be surprised if they find themselves thinking about you not just tomorrow, but for many tomorrows to come. Next comes emotional control. Now, you might think, control my emotions? I just want them to miss me. But here's the secret. Mastering your emotions is like having the reins of a powerful horse. It gives you the ability to guide the direction and tone of your relationships. Picture this. Every time you interact with them, you remain composed. Even when conversations take an unexpected turn or heat up, you hold your ground with calm. This kind of emotional balance doesn't just impress, it fascinates. Why? Because, as Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you have control over your mind, not external events. Recognize this, and you'll discover true strength. When you respond with this inner strength, you leave a mark. People expect emotional reactions, but when you respond with calm, clarity, and thoughtful presence, it creates an aura of mystery. They begin to wonder what's going on inside your mind. You're not predictable anymore. You're serene and composed, and that unpredictability draws them in. Now, emotional control doesn't mean becoming cold or robotic. It means choosing to respond instead of react. That slight shift makes your emotions more meaningful when they are expressed. When you do open up, your feelings carry weight. They're not impulsive. They're deliberate, heartfelt, and powerful. And when you're not around, what do they remember? That poised version of you. They recall how you made them feel safe, calm, intrigued. They long for the warmth behind your thoughtful affection. So keep your cool, stay grounded, and let them wonder. Maybe even leave behind a subtle hint, something that softly suggests, will you be thinking of me tomorrow? Because in love, mystery can be a powerful magnet. Now we come to intentional communication. Have you ever noticed how just a few well-chosen words can leave someone longing for your presence? This is the magic of speaking with purpose. Intentional communication is about being deliberate with your words, making sure everything you say adds depth, connection, and value. When you speak intentionally, you don't just talk. You craft. You choose language that resonates, that sparks thought, that invites connection. It's not about saying a lot. It's about saying what matters. Seneca once advised that we should speak so that we are invited to speak again. That's the heart of this principle, leaving them wanting more. More of your insight, more of your humor, more of your uniquely genuine voice. Now, imagine that each time you speak, you're doing so to build understanding, to enhance the moment, to offer something real. You're not just filling silence, you're shaping meaningful interaction. And when you're not present, your words linger. They echo in their memory. Your voice plays back in their mind, not just because of what you said, but because of how you made them feel. With this kind of thoughtful communication, you create emotional layers. They start reflecting on your conversations. They begin to miss not just talking to you, but hearing you. You've shown them depth and intention. You've shown them connection. So use your words wisely and with care. Make every exchange meaningful. It's not just the content. It's the way you deliver it that stays with them. Let your words be like gentle spells that leave them thinking, what would they say now? And just like that, you're on their mind, again and again. Now let's talk about the acceptance of absence. Here's a twist you might not expect. How can truly embracing time apart actually bring two people closer? It may sound like a contradiction, but here's the truth. Accepting periods of separation can actually intensify their longing for you and strengthen the bond you share when you're reunited. Let's look at it from this perspective. It's not just a matter of absence making the heart grow fonder. Absence builds anticipation, and with that, a deeper sense of appreciation. When you learn to accept and even treasure the moments when you're not together, you reveal a profound level of self-awareness and independence. It shows that you understand that real connection isn't measured by constant presence, but by the emotional strength of your bond. As Epictetus so powerfully put it, freedom is the only goal worth pursuing in life. Freeing yourself from the need to cling allows your relationship dynamics to evolve in the healthiest, most liberating way. Picture what this looks like in real life. Instead of constantly texting or checking in when you're apart, you intentionally allow space to exist. You give the silence room to breathe and, in doing so, invite curiosity. You let a bit of mystery grow. Suddenly, you're no longer just a routine part of their daily life. You become the moment they eagerly anticipate. The acceptance of absence teaches you to move with the natural rhythm of closeness and solitude. It encourages you to enjoy your own company and cherish your individuality. And that kind of self-contentment, it's magnetic. So when you're together again after some time apart, the energy feels refreshed, the connection more alive, and the joy more intense. Let those quiet stretches apart do their work. They aren't voids, they're fertile grounds for growth and a deeper emotional pull. Let them feel your absence in such a way that they find themselves thinking about you more and more. When you come back together, the joy of reconnection becomes a vivid, cherished experience. Now let's explore mindfulness in interaction. How can being completely present when you're with someone create a longing for you when you're not there? The secret lies in making every shared moment so rich and meaningful that your absence leaves a distinct emotional void. Being mindful isn't just about being physically close. It's about being emotionally, mentally, and spiritually engaged. When you are mindful, you're fully attentive to the person you're with. You listen deeply. You respond with thoughtfulness. You tune in, not just with your ears, but with your heart. You're not distracted or scattered. Every interaction becomes intentional. And as Marcus Aurelius once said, approach every action in life as if it were your last. Apply that mindset to your time with loved ones, and suddenly each conversation becomes more vivid, each glance more heartfelt, and each shared laugh more lasting. Imagine this. Every time you're together, you bring a quiet but powerful presence. You aren't just there, you're alive in the moment. You're making every second count. This deep engagement plants seeds of emotional richness. So when you're no longer around, what remains? The powerful memory of how it felt to be seen, heard, and deeply connected with you. That's what lingers. That's what they miss. By practicing mindfulness, you create a strong emotional resonance. Your presence enriches their world in a way that few others do. And when you're gone, that absence becomes noticeably heavier. They start to crave not just your company, but the emotional presence and depth you uniquely offer. So give your full self when you're with them. Let your presence leave such a mark that it echoes long after you're gone. When you master mindfulness in interaction, you don't just spend time, you create memories. And those memories will keep you in their thoughts well into tomorrow. And here we are, halfway through this journey. If you're still with us, it means this message is truly speaking to your heart. If you haven't already, please take a moment to like this video or subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world and allows us to keep creating content that connects with you. Now, Let's move into the sixth principle, a truly vital step in becoming unforgettable. This one carries significant weight, so stay focused. Let's now talk about consistency in communication. How does maintaining a steady, intentional communication pattern make someone feel your absence more deeply? It all comes down to cultivating trust and emotional rhythm. Consistency doesn't mean overwhelming them with constant messages. It means developing a steady, dependable flow of interaction that adds value and shows thoughtfulness. Think about small gestures, a good morning text that starts their day with warmth, a mid-afternoon check-in to show you're thinking of them, or a brief evening exchange about how your day went. These become rituals, comforting, familiar patterns that they begin to rely on. As Seneca once said, regularity is a sign of wisdom in communication. This sense of rhythm tells them you're not only present, but emotionally invested and dependable. Imagine even on your busiest days, you still make time for a brief, thoughtful message. That consistent effort becomes a part of their routine, a moment they look forward to. And here's where it becomes powerful. When those familiar touchpoints are suddenly absent, the silence feels louder. Your absence becomes a noticeable void, and they begin to long for your presence to return. This consistency doesn't just make you predictable, it makes you comforting, stable, and emotionally significant. You weave yourself into their everyday life through small, meaningful interactions. And when you're not there, they feel it. They miss not just the words, but the feeling that your messages bring. So make consistency your trademark in communication. Keep the rhythm going. Be someone they know they can count on to show up, even in small ways. Because the more dependable you are, the more deeply they feel your absence when it comes. Your goal isn't just to be remembered occasionally, it's to be constantly present in their thoughts, even from afar. Now, let's shift into purposeful living. How can having a life full of purpose make someone long for your presence even more? The answer lies in becoming someone whose passion and drive is naturally magnetic. When you lead a purpose-driven life, you're not sitting around waiting for someone else to complete you. You're actively shaping your life, chasing dreams, and engaging with your passions. Living with intention gives your energy a different kind of glow. You become someone who's exciting, inspiring, and a joy to be around. When you speak about your goals or dive into your projects, you radiate a kind of passion that's contagious. And that energy sticks with people. It makes them admire you, respect you, and most importantly, miss you when you're gone. So pursue your goals, cultivate your passions, let your life be full and vibrant. This creates a sense of admiration and even a little mystery. They'll find themselves thinking, what are they up to now? Or, I wonder how that project is going. That curiosity grows into longing. Your purpose-driven life becomes a compelling part of your identity that they want to stay connected with. Ultimately, purposeful living isn't about being too busy for love. It's about being so inspired that your presence becomes something others crave. Your energy draws people in, and when you're not around, they miss not just your company, but the light you bring into their world. When you live with purpose, you're not simply waiting for someone else to occupy your time. You're actively pursuing your goals and making the most of each moment. Living with intention naturally enhances your appeal and mystique. It signals that your life has direction and ambition that extend beyond your relationship. You become someone who is contributing to something bigger. And this depth adds to your charm and admiration in the eyes of others. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once remarked that our plans often fail because they lack clear direction. When a person doesn't know which harbor they are sailing toward, no wind is the right one. By setting clear intentions and working toward defined goals, you not only stay focused, but also become more dynamic and captivating. Visualize this. You share exciting stories with your partner about your latest projects, your volunteer initiatives, or your creative passions. As you talk, they see the light in your eyes, the genuine enthusiasm that fuels you. This excitement is contagious, leaving a lasting impact. When you're not around, they begin to miss that infectious energy and the inspiration you radiate. They find themselves eagerly anticipating your next story, the next wave of passion you'll bring to your conversations. In your absence, there's a noticeable void where that vitality once flowed. By choosing to live with purpose, you present yourself as someone constantly evolving and growing. This ever-changing journey keeps your presence fresh and engaging. When you're not there, your partner misses being part of that exciting path. They miss sharing in your victories, challenges, and dreams. So lean into your passions and allow your purposeful life to become a shining example. Show them you're someone who cherishes life and is determined to make a meaningful impact. And keep in mind, when you live with purpose, you'll remain in their thoughts, not just out of love, but out of admiration and a deep appreciation for your zest for living. How does practicing emotional moderation make someone miss you more? It's about establishing a sense of balance and control in the emotional dynamic of the relationship. Thoughtful and restrained emotional expression adds depth and clarity to your interactions. By maintaining emotional moderation, you avoid overwhelming your partner, whether through intense declarations of love or outbursts of frustration. This Stoic approach empowers you to navigate relationship challenges with grace and emotional intelligence, elevating the quality of your emotional connection. Marcus Aurelius wisely observed that the best revenge is simply to be unlike the person who caused you harm. Applied to relationships, this suggests that rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally, you respond with calm, intentional words and actions. Imagine handling a disagreement with patience and clarity. You express your feelings in a genuine way, but not in a manner that feels overbearing or impulsive. This sense of emotional poise allows space for desire and thoughtfulness to grow. Your partner comes to understand that your feelings are real, not just fleeting reactions or emotional impulses. When you're not around, they begin to yearn for that emotional steadiness you bring. They miss the calm confidence in your presence and the way your expressions of love feel meaningful, not rushed or exaggerated. Emotional moderation doesn't mean shutting down or being cold. It means mastering your emotions instead of letting them master you. This inner strength is deeply attractive and cultivates a foundation of trust and admiration. Strive to strike a harmonious balance in how you share your emotions. In doing so, you'll enhance the richness of your interactions and become someone who leaves a lasting, peaceful presence in their life. Remember, in the rhythm of love, it's often the softest notes, the composed and quiet moments that echo the loudest and linger the longest. How does displaying resilience during hard times make someone miss you more? It's about showing that you're capable of navigating life's inevitable challenges with courage and grace, creating a sense of stability and comfort that your partner finds deeply reassuring. Resilience in adversity means facing hardships directly without collapsing under the weight of them. This ability to stand strong not only builds your own character, but also portrays you as someone dependable and unwavering, qualities that naturally draw others closer. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said that a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without trials. This timeless truth highlights that overcoming difficulties not only strengthens you, but also makes you more admirable. Think about a situation where you're faced with significant personal challenges, and yet you stay composed and tackle your problems head-on. This measured response garners both respect and deep appreciation from your partner. They witness not just your ability to survive, but to thrive, and that memory lingers even when you're not physically with them. When you're away, the image of your resilience provides a comforting presence in their mind. They recall how grounded and strong you remain in turbulent times and miss the peace and strength you bring into their life. Resilience isn't simply about enduring hardship. It's about emerging from it stronger, with hope and determination intact. It's about maintaining a forward-moving mindset, seeking solutions, and not giving in to despair. This strength is incredibly attractive. It draws your partner to you not only because they love you, but because they are inspired by your ability to remain composed under pressure. Consider how this resilience shows up in your everyday life. Maybe you lose a job, but immediately take proactive steps to find new opportunities, staying hopeful. Or perhaps a family emergency arises, and you manage to provide support to others while also maintaining emotional clarity. These instances define who you are and leave a powerful impression. When your partner witnesses this kind of resilience, they see you as a rock, a steady force in their world. This solid presence doesn't just foster respect, it deepens emotional intimacy. They begin to treasure your role in their life as someone who offers stability and dependability. The more they experience this, the more they miss your strength during your absence. Additionally, resilience involves holding on to a positive outlook even during dark times. While it's easy to be upbeat when everything's smooth, the real test is how you carry hope when things fall apart. That quiet optimism becomes a guiding light, not only for you, but for your partner too. It uplifts them, and they miss that sense of reassurance when you're not there. Moreover, demonstrating resilience during challenging times also means maintaining a hopeful and positive mindset. It's simple to stay upbeat when everything is going smoothly, but genuine resilience shines through when you're able to see light even in your darkest hours. This kind of optimism is powerful and has the ability to lift your partner's spirits when they're feeling down. When you're not with them, it's not just your physical presence they long for, but also the hope and positivity you bring into their world. By embodying resilience, you show that you're not merely surviving the storms, you're rising above them, becoming stronger with every step. You become a beacon, someone who not only withstands adversity but leads others by example. This makes each moment you spend together more special and profound, as they eagerly await the comfort and inspiration that comes with your presence. They begin to associate you with feelings of security, strength, and hope, all of which are essential in a healthy and loving relationship. So embrace life's challenges as opportunities to reveal your inner strength and emotional steadiness. Let them see that no matter what life throws at you, you remain grounded and unwavering. Keep in mind that showcasing this kind of resilience keeps you alive in their thoughts, not just as someone they care about, but as a powerful force of love and stability in their life. Your resilience becomes the bedrock of the connection you share, making you irreplaceable and someone they deeply long for when you're not there. Now, let's talk about consistency in character. How can staying true to who you are make someone miss you even more? It's about being a steady, dependable presence in their life while still retaining enough intrigue to keep things exciting. Consistency in character means you don't change with the wind. You are the same authentic person day in and day out, and that predictability builds a strong sense of trust and security in your relationship. As the philosopher Epictetus once advised, first determine what kind of person you want to be, and then take action to live that truth. This commitment to personal integrity means your partner knows exactly who you are and what to expect from you, and that's incredibly reassuring. Imagine how this unfolds in your relationship. You're someone who lives by your principles, follows through on your promises, and consistently treats your partner with respect and care. That kind of reliability doesn't just make you a great partner. It makes you someone they truly depend on and treasure. When you're consistently kind, honest, and supportive, your partner can relax into the relationship, knowing they can count on you. And when you're not there, they feel the absence of that dependable energy. Your steady character has become an essential part of their emotional world. But being consistent doesn't mean you become boring or completely predictable. There's still plenty of room for fun, spontaneity, and surprise. It could be a spontaneous date night, a small but thoughtful gift, or a funny message that brightens their day. These little surprises layered on top of your solid foundation keep the connection alive and dynamic. You become the best of both worlds, reliable and exciting. Think about the deeper impact of maintaining this consistency in values and behavior. Your partner knows that no matter what uncertainties life throws at them, you'll remain the same supportive, loving person. That kind of stability is rare and precious. And when you're not around, it's this steady presence they miss, the one who brings calm, love, and reliability into their life. But the occasional dose of spontaneity ensures that the relationship doesn't fall into routine. It's like keeping the fire burning steadily while also adding a spark now and then to make it dance. Maybe you plan a surprise weekend away or leave a heartfelt note for them to find. These small acts show that you're not just consistent, you're also capable of delighting them in unexpected ways. This thoughtful combination ensures they look forward to both your grounding presence and the joy you bring through these delightful moments. They don't just miss your constancy, they miss the energy, creativity, and joy that you inject into their life. So, let consistency in your character be the strong, dependable core of who you are. And every now and then, let a spark of spontaneity bring excitement and fun to the relationship. This blend makes you someone who isn't just missed for being solid and trustworthy, but also anticipated for the little surprises that make life beautiful. Being on their mind tomorrow means building a relationship rooted in trust, but kept vibrant by moments of wonder and joy. Your partner will admire the stability you offer and look forward to the unexpected happiness you bring. In closing, fully embrace the importance of character consistency while leaving room for moments of playful unpredictability. It's this special mix that makes you unforgettable and deeply missed. Your partner will treasure the dependable foundation you provide and look forward to the exciting little things you do to keep love fresh and alive. This dynamic ensures that you're not just remembered, but deeply cherished, always occupying a special place in their heart and thoughts. Before you head out, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Be part of our community here at Power Stoic Habits, where we dive into powerful lessons on how Stoicism can enrich your daily life. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. drop a comment below and type "on their mind tomorrow" to show you're committed to becoming someone who's not just remembered today, but every day. It's a simple, fun way to affirm your journey, and who knows, your comment might just be the first thing someone thinks about when they wake up tomorrow. Your support helps us grow and reach more people who could use the wisdom of these timeless Stoic teachings. It also lets me see who's really putting these ideas into practice and transforming their relationships with purpose and heart. Thanks for watching, and always remember to keep those Stoic values close, stay grounded in your truth, and let your character be your compass. With these principles guiding you, you won't just be remembered, you'll be impossible to forget. Becoming someone who is missed is about enriching your own life and becoming the kind of person who leaves a lasting impression. Every principle we explored today is a step toward building richer, more enduring relationships that can stand the test of time. Until we meet again, keep cultivating the habits that make your life not only valuable, but truly unforgettable. Stay strong, stay resilient, and let your unique Stoic grace shine through every interaction. Your path to becoming someone who's deeply missed starts now, and I can't wait to see how you make it real. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.